Yeah, I announced it here actually at the board meeting. Okay. Somewhere I got an agenda here.
Is this your first meeting?
Okay, everybody, we're ready to get going here. Rhonda, is there any additions to the agenda?
No, Mr. Chairman, no additions.
County Council, can you read in the record of the closed session items?
Yes, Chairman, there are 3 items for today's closed session. The first is under Government Code Section 54957.6. That's conference with your labor negotiators. The designated agency representative is Adrian Caleb and Ken Caves, and the employee organization is all units. There's one existing litigation matter under Government Code Section 545.6.9, subsection D1, and your council is here to discuss the Lynn versus County of Madera existing litigation. There's an anticipated litigation, and you'll have conference with your legal counsel as well. There's significant litigation in one case under Government Code Section 54956.9, subsection D2. And the last item is consultation with the Madera County Sheriff's Office under Government Code Section 54957 to discuss a threat to public services or facilities in consideration of a tactical response plan. Thank you.
Tactical, wow. Okay, any public comment on these items? Hearing none, we're going to go in closed session, be out here around 10 o'clock. Now it's on. Okay, everybody, if you'll please take your seats, turn your cell phones off. And so I don't want to charge you $10 for listening to your ringing. So we got to pay for our water up here. So welcome to Madera County. Okay, we're going to open and close, and any member of anyone, board members got anybody this time?
Yeah, I neglected somebody some time ago.
Talking to Mike.
See if I can, am I on?
Yep.
I neglected to mention, like a week and a half ago, Rock Smith from Chowchilla, who was, Rock was a real estate agent. He was also an educator and passed away suddenly, young, not in a, having lived to be an old man, but he will be missed. And I've known him for 30 years, a good, very good guy. And Rhonda also knows Rock and his family. So thank you.
Okay. Seeing no others, invocation will be by Pastor Dennis Sylvester from First Assembly. Is he here? Oh, there he is. Thank you, Dennis. And Tashiana is going to do the flag salute today. Thank you. Please rise.
Can I stand for prayer, please? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Let's bow our heads for prayer. Our Heavenly Father, before we do anything else today, we acknowledge and recognize you, and we recognize our need of you and all the help that you can bring to us. Pray your blessing upon our meeting and gathering together. May it be productive, may it be cordial, may we gain ground and do positive things and be for the benefit of the people of our community. Blessed we pray today. Amen.
Ready, salute.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Dennis and Tashiana. Is it closer? I'm trying, man, I tell you. Okay, this is our 125th birthday anniversary for Madera County. We honor the past, embrace the present, and looking ahead to the future. Growing up in the Chowchilla area, everyone had heard of the ghosts of Minotun. Few have ventured out to find the graves of Jonas, his wife, Abby, and their son, Ronald, since the cemetery is on private property along the banks of the Chowchilla River. Over the years, there have been many reports of, what is that? Is that a ghost deal? Paranormal activity, including sounds of a woman screaming, children crying, or laughing. Some claim to have seen the ghost of a man picking up trash around the graves. Others have reported seeing apparitions chase cars down the road, dirt road, past the cemetery. Has anybody seen that? Have you seen it, Dave, out there?
Dave Rogers, whenever
Yeah. He come in here one day late at a board meeting, and he said, man, the ghosts were after me on that highway. And he said, I didn't know which way to go. So he turned left instead of right, and he was 5 minutes late. But maybe that's what it was, Dave.
Indeed.
Yeah. So anyway, we try to keep up the history of Madera County, best little big county in the state of California. So we've got public comment time. Item number 4, Rhonda.
Public comment. The first 15 minutes of each regular session is set aside for members of the public to comment on any item within the jurisdiction of the board but not appearing on the agenda. Items presented under public comment may not be discussed or acted upon by the board at this time. For items appearing on the agenda, the public is invited to comment at the time the item is called for consideration by the board. Any person addressing the board under public comment will be limited to a 3-minute presentation to ensure that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak. Any handouts to the board must be submitted to the chief clerk of the board for distribution to the supervisors. Anyone addressing the board is asked to print their name clearly on the speaker sheet at the podium. Also, all persons addressing the board may state their name and county for the record.
Okay, anybody? Mr. Bill. Good morning.
I think this thing's on, isn't it? What I'm here about, you remember the other day when I was down here about a stop
State your
sign.
name and address, please, Bill.
Oh, you all know who I am.
They don't.
Bill Purcell, Madera County. What I was down here about is a stop sign at 17 and 27. Something I didn't bring up the other day, I talked about it, but there's 2 school buses that cross there every morning. And I've got 4 great grandkids that cross there every morning going to school, and as you know, they all go early. And of course, we're not having any fog yet, but whenever it rains, hopefully we'll have rain, and we're going to have fog, and that's going to be a death trap. There's already been a school bus hit there, I think, a year or so ago, and there's been several wrecks there already. You guys might not have heard about them, but I've seen 2 of them personally. And so it's a death trap, and it's going to be a death trap when the fog gets there, because I go out of there once in a while early in the morning, and I meet as many as 15 cars between 17 and Ellis. And so there's a lot of traffic coming up there, and they all have to turn down 17 now, as you know, because of the high-speed rails, which that overpass they've been on over a year, I think, and it looks like it'll be another year before they get it finished. But anyway, that's what I'm talking about, and I remember the man said he was putting us on the list. Has anybody seen the list that you know of?
Well, Ahmad, I know, is working on that, right, Ahmad? The stop
Your list,
sign
have
on
you got a list
17 and
with that
27.
for 17?
The stop
About
sign
a
that we
stop
talked
sign?
about.
17 and 27.
Yeah.
The one we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Where are we at on the list? Are we at the top or the bottom, or and how many is on it? Or could you give out that information?
Would you like to respond to the public?
Yep. He was here a couple of weeks ago, and you said you were going to look into it for us.
Yes, sir. Good morning, John.
No, Bill. It's Bill, not
Bill.
John.
Oh.
John's my son.
Leroy, whatever, he mixes it.
Good morning. I'm Advocat, Public Works Director. In the past 2 weeks, unfortunately, I did not look into it yet. Our maintenance and ops, they were not on the job. They were on vacation, so we're looking at everything right now. We do meet with the systemic safety analysis grant that we have. We have the kickoff meeting, and that intersection is one of the intersections that will be studied in that
Like I
analysis.
told you before, if you ain't got the money,
Yeah.
I've got a
I'm
little
sure.
money, I might pay for it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
broke.
So we need you to look at it, Ahmad.
We
as
will.
soon as you can.
We'll
But
hook
like I
you up.
said, there's 2 school buses that cross there every morning. And I know I've got 4 great grandkids that go out of there. And there's other kids that live down there that the bus picks up. So, and like I said, there's already been a bus hit there. And I know of at least 5 or 6 wrecks since I've lived out there. It's a bad place.
Okay. I'm sure we're all listening, and we'll prioritize it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yes, you'll hear from me, Supervisor, this week.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Bill. Come on up.
Good morning, members of the board and the community. My name is Tina Rodriguez with Community Action Partnership of Madera County, and I'm also a resident of Madera County. Here to notify the public that the Victim Services Department has moved. We are now at 812 West Yosemite Avenue, and I'm just encouraging individuals to share that information. Our crisis line, everything else is the same. Our business hours is the same, but I do have flyers and would love those of you that are out in the community to please share the information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You got the flyers you said here? Just give them to Regina. Thank you.
Tito, stay back here. Okay. Folks, I'd like to acknowledge the Community Action Partnership of Madera County and thank Maddie Mendez and her staff, specifically Victim Service Center staff, for all they do for Madera County and beyond. It takes a special person to work in that particular field. These people see and hear some of the most gruesome cases within our society. They advocate for those who otherwise don't have a voice, including some of our vulnerable population, which is children, the elderly, and the disabled. I want to publicly congratulate Tina Rodriguez, the Director of Victim Services, Governor Brown has announced that he is appointing Tina to the Sex Offenders Managing Board. Great honor.
Wow.
Tina has 25 years of experience servicing crime victims, is the only director in the field that oversees programs for victims' rights, domestic violence, and sexual assault. As an expert, Tina will share her vision of ending sex violence by serving as a voice for survivors among stakeholders and advocates for change alongside the public. Congratulations to Tina. You make Madera County proud. And congratulations to Maddie and the entire victim service staff. Thank you for making Madera County a safe place to live, work, and play. And we have a plaque that we'd like to present.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Also, under public comment, I want to recognize our auditor again, Mr. Todd Miller, and his staff for being awarded for the second time the award for county's financial transactions reporting, this time for the fiscal year of ending June the 30th, 2017. Certificates will be presented at the State Controllers Conference on Thursday, October 25th. So, Todd Miller, stand up. I know you didn't do it, but your staff did. Thank you again, man. And we've never had it before, right? Now we got it 2 years in a row, so that's amazing. So, and then I just wanted to acknowledge that Sarah Anderson, our assistant board clerk's son, he just got back from a tour in Iraq. Joshua Anderson, and he come back safe, and he's in the Air Force and has been enlisted since 2008. So give him a big hand. So. And then Max and I and Brett all sat on the Madera County Transportation Committee, and we've been trying to get money to widen 99 out here through Madera from 12 to 17 for many, many years. And last week the state announced it that we're going to receive $84 million of state funds to fix this and make it 6 lanes out here. So give those guys a big hand. So. Yeah. Actually, the total amount is 89 million, actually, so.
That was originally after they had told us to request the money in a different place, and then it fell off, and the money went down to San Bernardino. And between the city and the county working together, the mayor, Councilman Oliver, Supervisor Poitras, and myself went down to Caltrans and talked with their higher-ups all the way up to the top levels of, and said, figure it out. And and they did. They held true to their word, got it through the CTC, and all of the pressure from Madera County Transportation Commission. I mean, this was a point where I think our politics and relationships here at the local level with the state actually
Paid off.
And I think we all cashed our chits in when we had the ability to, and got something for the benefit of the community. That's $10, Rhonda.
Yeah.
So it'll be pretty exciting, I think,
Absolutely.
to get rid of Carmageddon.
Is there, I didn't look at the date, is there a date on when they're?
It's next year, hopefully late summer, they'll start construction, but you always told them no was not acceptable.
Yeah, that was Rob's. They said, "Well, it's," and Rob's, "Well, no is not an acceptable answer," and then just let the palatable silence just sit there until they started figuring out. Well, here's another thing we can do. Well, then do it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So they did. So thank you, guys. Thanks, everybody, for pushing this. Great accomplishment from Madera County. Is there anybody we need to know who called it? Was it president or something, or?
They just rescinded the
Never know. They wanna
CTC
see what
action.
Madera County's doing. You know, we're growing so fast, they might know how we do it. It wasn't from them?
It was from RCRC with a follow-up with our presentation this morning.
Oh,
They didn't
okay.
realize the meeting had started.
Oh. Well, they got your private number now anyway, so. Any other public comment? Seeing none, okay, we'll move to the consent calendar. What's your pleasure, board?
I'd like to pull item
number
N
N
off of there.
to a later date?
Yeah, for a later date, and through their attorney, they had requested this delay. I just hope that this doesn't lead to further debt to this community. The community knows that they need to raise their rates. There's a lot of hold patterns and waiting things, and, we're trying to do this. I just hope that they know that this could lead to further debt if we don't go forward with this 218 at some point. So hopefully we can work out the historical debt with them and move on from this and get an amount that can actually cover their costs. Because
The real
we're only bringing in
costs.
just about barely what it costs to do PG&E there, so
Thank you for
no
working
more
on
delays
that.
after.
Thank you for working on that, Brad. I know it's not an easy deal. Any other questions on any of the items in the consent calendar? Anybody from the public got any items on the consent calendar they're worried about? Seeing none, what's your pleasure?
Move to approve without item N,
Pulling item in.
pull in item N.
Have a second from Dave. Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers? Yes. Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Yes. Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Okay, on the, not ready for public hearing yet, so we're going to item number 7, and I'm going to change those around a little bit. So I'm going to move item 7B first and then 7C. Are they here yet, 7B?
I'm looking for Craig Ferguson. I don't see him.
Okay, then we'll go to item 7C. I thought they went.
7C, Public Works Department. Presentation from Madera County Public Works Department and the California State Association of Counties on the 1 countywide pavement management system program by Public Works Department. 2, funding California's transportation infrastructure, SB1 and Prop 6 by CSAC.
Not working? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Amado Kayat, Public Works. With me here is Ms. Guyana Valentine with CSAC, our legislative rep.
Does a good job.
Yes. Of course, she's, I don't know.
And Chairman, while we're waiting, Chairman, while we're waiting, I'll just might add that it's pretty important in the county code that county employees and officers during work hours not engage in any sort of political activity. So there's going to be a very clear distinction that's in our county code and law. Just a reminder to the public that we're aware of that distinction and are mindful of it.
Okay, thank you. Got it ready?
Yes, sir.
Why didn't we do you want to do 7A while we're waiting for this?
Or is it a short one?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
looks like a presentation of a proclamation.
Okay, apologize for the technical
Tom?
difficulties here.
Skip the-
We, what,
No, I already moved.
Okay.
I did on purpose.
Oh, okay, got it.
Okay, the reason we're here, I just very quickly will give you a quick update about our payment management system program and where we at, and also inform you about the report that came 2 weeks ago, which is the 2018 California Statewide Streets and Roads Needs Assessment Report, just to show you where Madera County's road conditions fall. So our schedule is we're almost on time. We met last week for the maintenance and rehabilitation meeting. It was supposed to be in August, but it was delayed till October. And the reason for the delay is basically processing the data between two varying shape files. And also, and that's what the consultant said, I mean, Madera County has some roads that are not classified as any type of surface. They are treated. So there are some abnormality going there where they had to go and do further testing, go to the lab, and to give a more classification of what kind of roads these are. Our next, we are on schedule, so we should be finishing with uploading the database. Hopefully in December, we'll be coming to your board with a full draft report for our program. So we are good there. And now, I don't want to take too much time, but according to the 2018 California Statewide Streets and Roads Needs Assessment Report, you can see 10 years ago, Madera County is below, the CPI is below 48, which is poor. And of course, 10 years later, we are still, I would say it's redder than 10 years ago. So that just gives you an idea of what we really need. And upon that, we issued a press release basically highlighting some points on that report and also giving the public what projects do we have lined up for 18-19 for utilizing SB1 monies. And of course, you have that and everybody have access to it. So just to summarize what the report said. Paved road needs, in the next 10 years, Madera County needs $10 billion. Unpaved road needs, we need $3.7 million. Essential components needs, that's basically assets, signs, what have you, almost $100 million. And we have 155 bridges needing $63 million for repair and rehabilitation. So that's just on a nutshell. Just quickly, a quick comparison. What we look at today, existing law in the blue, just the remainder of 18-19. If Proposition 6 passes, we would get almost $2 million less in funds just the remainder of this fiscal year, so up until June 30th. And for 19-20, you can see that we will be about $7 million less funds in funding. So with that, I will give it to Ms. Valentine.
Yeah.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Again, my name is Kiana Valentine. I'm a senior legislative representative with the California State Association of Counties. Hopefully the board is aware of what CSAC is, but for any of the members of the public in the room or watching, a little bit about CSAC. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan statewide association that represents the interests of county government before the state and federal governments. And so I, in particular, work on housing, land use, and transportation issues on behalf of California's 58 counties in Sacramento. I'm always very grateful for an opportunity to come visit a member county and experience a board meeting and understand the local interactions that our elected representatives have with your community. And so, again, thank you so much for having me. I am here to talk about something that is a significant passion of mine. I've been with CSAC for over 12 years now, and I couldn't say that transportation was necessarily a passion of mine before I started, but it has certainly become something that's very near and dear to me. The condition of our infrastructure, the way it impacts our economy, our quality of life, all of the ways the transportation network interacts with our daily lives. And of course, the funding that's necessary to support that infrastructure. I do want to acknowledge a statement that I believe Council made at the outset of this presentation. We do need to be careful when talking about, in this presentation, SB 1 and Proposition 6, county staff, elected officials, while on county or public resources, time, and money, are not able to advocate on behalf of any specific initiative. So for full disclosure, CSAC does have an opposed position on Proposition 6. We supported and helped pass SB 1, but I am being paid on non-public resources. And so again, just want to make sure that that statement is made very clear. I have a bias. I am going to present to you information that I think helps support CSAC's no on 6 position. However, I know all of the voters here in Madera County need to have factual information in front of them to help them decide how they are going to vote on Proposition 6. And so I do hope to try to present facts on the ground as they are across the state to help those in the room and those listening make that decision. So I always like to do a little bit of a history lesson on transportation funding in the state of California, because it's important to know where we came from to understand where we are going. And this is really the foundation of how SB 1, the 2017 transportation funding deal, was crafted. Traditionally, the state and federal governments have supported transportation infrastructure through user fees. Since the 1920s, both California and the federal government has levied a what we commonly call a gas tax, a per gallon tax, when you purchase your gas to drive around in your personal car. And that directly supports the infrastructure that we all drive on. California has also in the past dedicated the sales tax on the sale of gasoline to transportation infrastructure. That was a diversion of funding from the general fund to transportation that occurred in the early 2000s. We did tinker around with the sales tax in 2010. It gets a little complicated, but I think the moral of the story is that the state of California has supported transportation through both user fees and sales tax or general fund contributions. We have passed general obligation bonds, the most recent one being in 2006, Proposition 1B, which was a nearly $20 billion transportation general obligation bond to support capacity enhancements and other types of improvements to our transportation network. Some of the other...
That ran out too, right?
I'm sorry?
That ran out.
I believe that we are on fumes if there is anything less. I haven't looked at how much of Prop 1B is left. I will say the set aside for cities and counties, we used up in 3 years. There was such a backlog of projects waiting at the local level that the $2 billion set aside for cities and counties in Prop 1B, we were able to allocate and expend within a few years. A few other fees that come up in the conversation of how we fund transportation that I think it's important to highlight are registration fees, vehicle license fees, and other sales taxes, because there's a common misunderstanding about how these fees are invested. Registration fees don't actually support transportation infrastructure, and to my knowledge, they never have. They support the functions of the California Highway Patrol, public safety along our highways and county highways, as well as Department of Motor Vehicles. Vehicle license fees are in lieu property taxes, so those support programs that counties are intimately involved in, health and human service and public safety programs. And then other sales taxes, as the board and public is likely aware, many countywide areas take it upon themselves to levy an additional percentage of sales tax on taxable goods, and they dedicate that to transportation at the local level. So those are what we call self-help measures. So that's a little bit about how we fund transportation in California right now. CSAC, my organization, started advocating for an additional investment into transportation infrastructure many, many years ago, far before SB1 was something that rolled off the tongue, before that bill was even introduced. Because when we started, as Ahmad showed, our local streets and roads needs assessment report in 2008, we found that there was an over $73 billion funding shortfall on just city and county roads alone. When you combine that with the needs on the state highway system, we were facing over the next decade over $130 billion funding shortfall. That's just to bring our existing system into a state of good repair, make safety improvements, repair and replace aging bridges, so on and so forth. More than 1,600 bridges are structurally deficient in the state of California and need attention. And unfortunately, more than 3,600 fatalities occurred on California roads in 2016. And while for a few years in the early 2010s, we were seeing fatalities and serious injuries on the decline, that trend is no longer true. Unfortunately, trends are showing increases in fatalities and serious injuries. And so to the extent that we can fix some of those safety problems with hard infrastructure improvements, was the foundation of our advocacy for increased funding for transportation. There's a lot of rhetoric that goes on in the public sphere about how we got here. Why is there a $130 billion shortfall? What is the County of Madera doing, or the City of Sacramento, or the State of California doing to not invest our revenues properly? From my perspective, from all the research that I have done, the root causes have much to do with inflation and increases in capacity and technology. I always like to tell folks, when I started driving, I drove a 1980 Chevy Camaro. It was 5 colors of spidered primer gray, real beauty. I think I got 10 miles, 12 miles to the gallon on my best day. Now I'm driving a hybrid RAV4, and I get 32 miles to the gallon. My driving habits, because I live in a suburban community most of my life, have not changed. So I'm doing the same amount of damage to the road system, but I'm paying not nearly as much as I was because I don't have to buy as much fuel. So inflation and fuel efficiency gains have eroded the purchasing power of our existing revenues by more than 50%. And from my perspective, from CSAC's perspective, that is the root cause of our transportation funding crisis. That's a nice graphic to try to hammer home the point that inflation and fuel efficiency have really reduced what we have been able to do with existing revenues. So what is SB1? What was the 2017 transportation funding deal? It was a package of taxes and fees, and I am not afraid to call a spade a spade. I think we need to be honest with the public about how transportation is funded and what this deal was all about. So it increased the gas tax, the diesel sales and excise taxes. It levied a new transportation improvement fee. And perhaps my favorite aspect of SB1 is the first ever zero emission vehicle fee for those cars that are running on electricity or alternative fuels that don't pay any taxes to use the system. Under SB1, they are now going to be required, to pay a fee at the time of registration to help support the infrastructure they're using. It will generate over $5 billion a year, with $1.5 billion of that coming in direct subventions to cities and counties. So Madera County, the cities within Madera County, are going to be the beneficiaries of monthly apportionments so that you can invest in the roads, bridges, essential components that you need to address to make your community safer, the transportation system more efficient, improve our economy and overall quality of life. It was more than just taxes and fees, though. I think it's really important to highlight aspects of SB1 that increased transparency and accountability. I am not surprised when I talk to folks that they are distrustful of federal government, state government. You know, as you get closer to home, folks interact with their local electeds, I think, on a much more regular basis, and there's more trust at the local level. But that was something that an advocate like myself on your behalf thought was very critical, is to pass measures along with the taxes and fees to prove to your constituents that you guys are actually using this revenue for transportation. So for instance, in order to get your yearly apportionment of funds, you have to adopt, as you have twice already, a list of proposed projects that tells your community exactly how you intend to spend your share of SB1 revenues. And at the end of the year, something that you hopefully did by September 30th of this past year, you adopted an expenditure report that says, these are the promises that we told you we were going to keep, and this is how we kept them. And if there are deviations from the plan, explain to your constituents why things happen. Local governments have to be nimble to address issues as they arise. And so it's about accountability and transparency as much as it is investing into the transportation system. It was accompanied by a constitutional amendment, which was passed by voters overwhelmingly. More than 81% of the voters passed Proposition 69 in June 2018 that requires every single penny of additional revenue raised by SB1 to be dedicated to transportation and protected by the Constitution.
What was that percentage that passed by?
Over 81% of the vote. Oh, and as Ahmad had mentioned too, I think we were very excited when we released the results of the 2018 Local Streets and Roads Needs Assessment. In all of our previous reports, we were only looking at hypothetical situations. If the state legislature provided counties with X amount of money, if counties came up with this amount of money from another source, this is what we could do. Well, now we were able to look at what SB1 will enable cities and counties to do across the state. That's reduced the shortfall by $18.4 billion over the next 10 years. I think that's really powerful. So we like to highlight that. Another chart that I like to show is specifically related to the 12-cent gas tax increase that was included in SB1. Let me say this, I understand the cost of living in the state of California is a challenge for everyone. I'm a working mom, my husband and I have 3 jobs. We're trying to make family decisions based on our ability to live in an expensive state. So can Californians afford 12 cents? That is a very understandable question. I like to show folks that all the 12 cents does, and this was very purposeful when we crafted SB1, is undo the inflationary effect on our existing gas tax. So had the gas tax in 1994, the last time it was raised, been indexed to inflation to keep pace, it would have been 30 cents. It is now 30 cents. So that was very purposeful. We were not trying to increase the gas tax above and beyond any sort of historic standard. Just get us back to where we were 24 years ago. So what is Proposition 6? It was mentioned in Ahmad's presentation that Madera County can expect X amount of dollars under existing law. Proposition 6 is it's a constitutional amendment initiative in the November 2018 ballot, so just 14 days away today, but I'm not counting. That would repeal essentially SB1 and all of the funds that it generates. I believe that it is important for counties to understand some additional impacts that I think Proposition 6 could have, not will, but could have. For instance, as we mentioned, vehicle license fees in the state of California fund public safety and public health programs. Should the state in the future need to leverage vehicle license fee revenues to support those programs, I think Prop 6 could impact the legislature's ability to do that. So I think Proposition 6, while targeted at SB1, does have some much more significant long-term potential consequences. And another aspect of Proposition 6 is its precedent-setting nature in that in order to pass a tax or fee at the state legislature, you need to achieve a 2/3 supermajority vote. And that's what the legislature did. It was not a simple majority. They got 2/3 of the legislature to agree to increase those taxes. Prop 6 says even with that extremely high threshold in the legislature, the voters still need an opportunity to say yay or nay on any potential taxes or fees for transportation. And I like to point that out because no other policy area in the state of California would be set to that standard. So I do think that's important for the public to understand. I also like to bring up some frequently asked questions. As I mentioned, and as I'm learning firsthand, I'm a policy wonk by nature. I like data and analysis and figuring out solutions to sticky problems. I'm not necessarily a political operative, so I've been thrown into this campaign setting, and there's a lot of rhetoric and a lot of, he said, she said stuff going on in the public sphere. So I would like to spend a couple of minutes talking about some of the frequently asked questions that I think the public is asking themselves. How do I know the money is being spent efficiently and effectively? Well, hopefully I think I've answered that, at least at the local level. Cities and counties are going to tell you every single year how they intend to spend your money and just how they did. The state is required to do that through the California Transportation Commission in new ways as well. SB1 also created a position known as the Inspector General that is required to look at both state, regional, and local programs to find additional efficiencies to ensure that we are getting the biggest bang for the buck with every dollar taxpayers pay. Why can't the state solve the transportation funding crisis with the budget surplus? Excellent question. The budget surplus, last I checked, was approximately $6 billion. I tell you what, I think a budget surplus, which is one-time in nature, is a perfect source for investing in infrastructure. It doesn't necessarily require an ongoing commitment. But a $6 billion one-time surplus pales in comparison to the $130 billion necessary to bring our system into a state of good repair. So from CSAC's perspective, we don't think the budget surplus is a substitute for SB1, which is an ongoing, robust revenue source that cities and counties are going to benefit from year after year. Can the funding be rated, diverted, or borrowed for other transportation purposes? You know, as an advocate for transportation, I have to live with some of the dirty history that is transportation funding. And in the 2000s, there was diversions and loans. I shouldn't say diversions. There were temporary loans of transportation sales tax revenue away from transportation. That happened. We all know it, and we have to live with it. But voters closed loopholes that do not allow the legislature to ever do that again, even in a fiscal emergency. Prop 69 was one step in that, but this occurred actually in 2010 with the passage of Proposition 22. It eliminated the ability of the legislature to borrow gas tax revenues for non-transportation purposes, even in a fiscal emergency. So how much is SB1 going to cost me, and how much will Prop 6 save me? That's another frequently asked question. So from CSAC's perspective, the Department of Finance did an analysis of the cost to an average motorist. They took all of the registered or the licensed drivers in the state, all of the gallons sold, and did some math. They said on average $120 a year per motorist. That's less than $10 a month. Now, that is going to vary significantly across communities depending on their driving habits and the value of their vehicle. But that is an average figure for the public to sort of chew on as you sort of assess your driving behaviors. Proposition 6 would, in turn, eliminate those taxes and fees, so you could say it would save me $120 a year. However, there are studies out there that show that on average, Californians pay out of pocket over $700 a year in time lost sitting in congestion and lost economic productivity, and also out-of-pocket costs related to damage to our vehicles due to bad roads. I ran into a gentleman just yesterday who was telling me that he was in a fender bender because someone veered off the road to try to avoid a massive pothole, and there was a collision, and out of pocket, he ended up paying $1,100. So those things happen. If we can improve the infrastructure to minimize those incidents, I do think that SB1 will save taxpayers money in the long run. So this is what ultimately I think it comes down to for your constituents to ask themselves. What is the condition of your local streets and roads, bridges, and other infrastructure? And Ahmad provided some information to you for that. How much funding is SB1 going to invest into your community, and what benefits can you anticipate? What are the projects your Public Works Department and Board of Supervisors is intending to invest that revenue into? And if Proposition 6 is successful, what would your city and county have to do with respect to the loss of those revenues? So as you're contemplating your November ballot, those are some of my suggestions. As I mentioned at the outset, obviously I do have a perspective on this initiative, but recognize that voting is a very personal choice, and I just hope that some of this information has been helpful to your community members as well as the Board of Supervisors. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Any questions from the board members? Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank Ahmad and the crew for this report. I something we've been waiting on for a long, long time, and it's definitely going to be very useful in the future in terms of, it takes the politics out of road repairs and things of that sort. So, but the second thing is, I have a question for our policy wonk here from CSAC. In terms of the future of road funding, cars are becoming more and more efficient. We've got more and more electric cars, hybrids, and so forth. What do you see as where do we go in the future in terms of financing roads?
Yeah, excellent question. I always saw SB1 as a midterm solution, knowing that the gas tax was going to continue to be a declining revenue stream due to, again, more and more electric vehicles and greater fuel efficiency. CSAC doesn't have a position on what should replace the gas tax, but we do support looking at alternatives. One of the alternatives that is often talked about is a vehicle miles traveled fee. I don't know whether that's the solution. I hear talk about a tire tax or alternatives to the gas tax. So I think in the next 3 to 5 years, the state of California is going to continue to study and start making recommendations to the legislature so that we can start to have that debate in earnest.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Aren't they doing that study right now with some people in California on the miles?
Yes, the state did conduct, I think, it's been too long, but I want to say at least 2,000 or 3,000 people pilot program.
Right.
2 people from CSAC actually participated in that, and that was very interesting.
I put my name in, but they didn't pick me.
How much I would pay, at the time I was driving a Prius, and how much my colleague would pay in our travel patterns. As I understand it, the legislature just extended that study another year or 2 because they had some unanswered questions. So I do think it's going to be a couple more years before we see the results of that. A lot of what is surrounding that debate is the technology, how intrusive it is, privacy, data, and protections to ensure that our data and our privacy are protected.
Yeah.
And so I think there still are a lot of unanswered questions.
They're doing that in Oregon too right now, aren't they?
I think there's got to be 5 or 6 states that have done
Right.
that
Okay.
to date. Yeah.
Dave?
Yeah, there are recent laws, mic's off, there we go. There are recent laws, I believe, passed that will eliminate the use of fossil fuels in the future, or they're trying to do that. I'm not sure where those are at, but anyway, as they do that, and you talked about the vehicle miles traveled, it's probably going to be one of their only options. However, I see the tire tax as a more palatable situation than the vehicle miles traveled because of the reporting requirements are going to be onerous. It's going to be an intrusive type process to report the vehicle miles traveled. If you have a little black box on your vehicle, that's just intrusive. But everybody uses tires, and tires are commensurate with mileage. So it makes sense that that would be a probable solution to, rather than trying to create this bureaucracy of reporting how many miles you've traveled or sticking a little black box on your vehicle. Your thoughts?
My experience, my colleague and I chose different technologies. We wanted to try to get the most out of our own personal testing. And he, I think, enabled full GPS on his pilot. But he's very active on Facebook and Twitter and all this social media. And so for him, it didn't feel like an intrusion beyond what he's already used to doing in terms of enabling his device.
Right.
I'm a little bit more cautious with my data. Yeah. And so I chose a self-reporting mechanism where I just sent in a snapshot of my odometer every month. And that's how they tracked it. And so my GPS was never on in the car unless I was doing something else, but not for the purposes of the road charge. So I share that as a way of saying I agree that we need to be very thoughtful in how we roll out a replacement. The bureaucracy of trying to gather all that data and make decisions on it could get overwhelming. I agree with you. Similar to the gas tax, the more you drive, the faster your tires wear out, the more often you're going to have to purchase tires and pay that tax. So there does seem to be a strong nexus to that.
And it's less intrusive. I think,
Yeah.
I was thinking the other day as I was doing an audit for the IRS, and I'm working on my taxes and this and that. And I was thinking, I spend more of my life complying with rules than I do living. And it's just, we got to get to the place where we give the American people a break and these rules and these things that they have to do to comply with the law. And it's just becoming too much, So I think the simpler the better.
Duly noted. Thank you.
Brett?
I just follow the law because it's the right thing to do. I don't work. Just kidding. I'm also looking into a hybrid hovercraft, so I don't have tires either. I just wanted to get a clarification. So how much does the average person, what is it going to cost them at the pump? And then what's the disparity between the user fee on a hybrid or a zero emission vehicle? That's the first one, yeah.
So to answer the latter question, the zero emission vehicle fee is $100 a year, starting in
pretty cheap to
2020.
me.
It is.
That should be more.
It is. Speaking on behalf of myself now, can I take my, I would personally agree. I know that I am achieving a lot of cost savings with my hybrid, let alone an electric alternative vehicle, by not purchasing as much fuel, yet I'm doing the same wear and tear on the roads. As everything is in the legislature, it was a balancing act of what was acceptable to the various parties at the negotiating table. And from my perspective, while I do think it should have been higher, I'm glad to see it included in the first place. There was some concern expressed at the time about disincentivizing the use of electric vehicles by, levying fees. So that was sort of the balancing act.
Well, we're also subsidizing the purchase of them and then saying, but you're not paying into the system, and we've continued the subsidization of them. But so it's $100, and then what does the average person pay at the pump?
Excuse me, I'm so sorry. The calculation the Department of Finance did was $120 a year. That includes your registration fee and taxes paid at the pump. So let me break that down a little bit. The registration fee, or the transportation improvement fee, is based on the value of a vehicle. So the cheaper your vehicle is, the less you pay. The gas tax is a regressive tax. It's the same amount regardless of how much money you make any year. Thank you so much. So to try to offset some of that regressivity, they said, let's levy the registration fee as a value-based fee. So 50% of Californians own cars that are valued at $5,000 or less. Those folks will pay $25 a year in addition to their other registration fees. The next grouping of Californians, 40% of Californians own a car $25,000 and less. Those folks are going to pay $50. So they looked at the spread of value of vehicle and the cost of that fee and came up with an average amount of $48 per person for the annual fee. So if we subtract that from $120, I think it's around $68 then at the pump. I'm bad at math, so I think I did that right. So $68, $70 more at the pump. The way they calculated that number was looking at all the registered or the licensed drivers, total gallons purchased, and did an average. So again, there is going to be some variability between
rural counties and suburban users are going to have a disparity. There's a disparity. We have more vehicle miles traveled, which is more gallons, right? But we also have longer amounts of roads and have to pay for more infrastructure. I'll pay that extra to do that.
Well, and the good news is the formulas, at least on the county side of how monies come to you, do reflect the size of your infrastructure. This was a change that CSAC advocated for in the late 1990s to ensure counties that maybe don't have such a big population base but have a very significant amount of transportation
like
infrastructure.
Madera County.
That is accounted for in the formula.
Yeah, and then I just have this one last one. So for Prop 6, maybe for people to understand, Does it repeal and replace? Does it offer another solution, or does it just get rid of SB1? Because I would hope that it would have some kind of a.
Excellent question. Proposition 6 does not replace SB1 with anything. That being said, the proponents recently introduced another initiative that they would need to raise money, gather signatures, qualify, and have the voters act on in 2020. So in full disclosure, that is something the proponents have put out there. However, from my perspective, if they were serious about funding transportation, it would have been part of Proposition 6, to use that common nomenclature now, repeal and replace. I've also taken a look at their replacement proposal, and it's very dangerous from a county perspective, from a local government perspective. It would take revenues that cities and counties use now to fund health and human service programs, police and fire, send it back to the state to fund transportation. So the devil's in the details. That proposal also suggests to devolve Caltrans to the city and county level. So all of a sudden you have 58 counties responsible for the portions of state highways in their jurisdiction, cities the same, and I think that's likely an inefficient way to maintain a state highway system through 540 individual jurisdictions. So yes, something out there maybe in a couple of years, but I don't think it's a real solution from my perspective.
Rob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just going to go back to the electric car discussion. I can tell you where the disparity comes in terms of electric cars, kind of getting a break. Of the top 30 cities in California where electric cars are sold, 26 are in the Bay Area. And those are the people that can afford the $50,000, $60,000, $80,000, $100,000 cars. And in something else, I think they have the votes. We have roughly 4 million people who live from Kern County to San Joaquin County, and we have very few legislators, whereas in the Bay Area, it's a huge population base, and so their constituents, are going to, that buy the electric cars are going to get a better deal in that regard. So you're just not going to see the sales of electric cars here.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to open up the public. Any public comments on this? Mr. Bill.
Bill Purcell, I don't know where she came up with these figures at. My truck, I have a 2002 F-150, and the license fees on that, I think, went up about $100 this year, just the license. And I buy approximately $50 worth of gas a month, so you figure that would be $10, I think, extra on this 10% gas tax, so that would be like, what, $120 a year for just gas tax, and then plus the 100. So you're looking at over, for me, I don't know, and I don't drive to work.
He's retired.
Where you're getting that $120 figure?
It's average, Bill.
Well,
I know. But the average in the electric ones and everything else.
well, yeah, the electric ones, I can understand that.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about people that are driving gasoline vehicles for $120 a year. They're saying that that's what it is. That's not what it is.
Probably much larger in rural areas.
Huh?
It's
Much
probably a
larger
lot
in
more-
rural areas.
yeah, a lot more in rural areas.
I don't know about that, but I'm just saying that is not the figures. And I know a person, or I know a friend that knows a person. They bought 3 new trucks in Texas, diesels, and they said that their license fee in Texas for 3 would have been less than 1 in California.
Yeah.
So that a lot of people is what's happening. A lot of people are establishing residences in other states so that they can buy their license and everything in other states, and that's what's happening. That's another thing that's happening.
Thank you, Bill.
But anyway, that's just what I'm saying. The $120 figure is not right for me anyway, and I don't think it is for a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, it's not for us up here on the board either. So any other public comment on this? Thank you very much, and we appreciate you coming down, and have a safe trip back.
Thank you so much.
Okay, item 7A.
7A, presentation of a proclamation to recognize the week of October 22nd, 2018 through October 26, 2018 as Eligibility, Employment, and Training Staff Appreciation Week. Whereas the Madera County Department of Social Services staffs eligibility workers, employment training workers, eligibility supervisors, and employment training supervisors to assist the county's most vulnerable residents by providing access to benefits needed to progress towards achieving self-sufficiency, eliminating food insecurity, and providing access to needed health care. And whereas these social service professionals administer a multitude of public assistance programs, including CalFresh, Medi-Cal, California Work Opportunity and Responsibility to Kids, CalWorks, General Assistance, Foster Care, Employment Services, and Public Authority with professionalism, compassion, and expertise. And whereas these employees offer knowledge of local resources, jobs, programs, and policies to those seeking self-sufficiency. And whereas in order to meet the increased demand for service in the community, these individuals have implemented a more streamlined and effective service model to better serve Madera County residents. And whereas eligibility and employment training staff deserve recognition and appreciation for their valuable contributions to our community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Supervisors of Madera County does hereby proclaim October 22nd through the 26th, 2018 as Eligibility and Employment Training Staff Appreciation Week, and thus honor these professionals with the utmost gratitude for their commitment to the residents of Madera County.
Thank you.
Morning, Chairman
Welcome.
Wheeler and members of the board. Karen Sandu, Deputy Director, Department of Social Services. Today I have members of our amazing team along with our Deputy Director, Danny Morris. Our Director, Deborah Martinez, could not be here today, but we'd like to thank you for this proclamation and wonderful opportunity to recognize our staff today. So currently the department has 119 eligibility and 28 employment services staff located through the county in Madera, Chowchilla, and Oakhurst. And we're extremely proud of their achievements. You know, they work with the most vulnerable populations within the community, including children, low-income families, elderly, disabled, and those that are underemployed and unemployed. So we'd like to give thanks to our staff today. You know, they've very committed, very hard work, and we have a lot of policy changes, training opportunities, and they're very flexible and adaptable. So we're very proud of them and very grateful for all they do. And so today, joining me today, I've got several of our staff that I'd like to introduce, including Starla Basler, eligibility worker, Marty Brown, eligibility worker, Melissa Perez, eligibility worker, Carlos Rodriguez, eligibility worker, Miguel Vicenor, eligibility worker, Kiva Davis, employment and training worker, Michelle Lopez, employment training worker, Eleanor Belmontes, eligibility supervisor, Janelle Cook, eligibility supervisor, Maria Rodriguez, eligibility supervisor, and Maria Chapa, employment training supervisor. So thank you for this great opportunity.
Thank you. Who trains you?
I'm sorry?
Who trains you?
I get
else
trained
is
by
training.
Danny and Deborah and the staff right here. So kudos to them. They're wonderful.
Come out here, front here. Everybody smiling?
I think so.
Thank you very much.
Anybody drive a zero emissions vehicle?
So there was a misunderstanding. They thought public session was at 1:30. So he's like, what do you? Do 7 days. We can go.
I'm going to do 7D real quick. Quickly.
Take a break.
7D, Board of Directors, Special Districts, County Service Area 19, Rolling Hills Public Works Department Administration Division. Discussion and consideration of entering into an asset purchase and sale agreement and escrow instructions with Bakeman Water Company for County Service Area 19, Rolling Hills Water System, and authorize the chairman to sign.
Okay, who's presenting? Dale?
Public Works is on their way.
Caught him off guard, see? You ready?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati, Deputy Director with Madera County Public Works. With me, I have County Counsel Dale Bacigalupi. Give me 1 second to pull this up. Okay, so before your board today is a document for the sale of the water system of Rolling Hills. Essentially, what is going to happen if all goes as planned, the Rolling Hills water system will privatize with a for-profit private water company, and the County of Madera will no longer be their water operator. Questions as to why sell? The community really asked us for this. There were a couple of issues stemming back from years ago, roughly around 2016. There were some catastrophic failures. There were some financial issues, and essentially the community has been asking for us to, they've been asking to privatize. And so with your direction, we came to you asking how should we move forward, and we started along this path. The community did get a vote. We sent out ballots. The mass majority of residents did vote in favor of moving forward with a private water company. The other reason why we are in this process of selling is because the district does have a large amount of general fund debt. We did do a rate increase. That rate increase was defeated. Essentially, we cannot afford to provide them with the services that they need, and so selling is a viable option in order for them to be able to receive the services that they need. Who are we selling to? Those ballots that went out, there were 3 private water companies, and then there were a couple of votes in favor to keep the county. We did do an RFP for water companies to solicit. We solicited proposals from water companies, and we did receive 3. Those 3 were shared with the community, and the community voted unanimously, not unanimously, but large majority voted in favor of Bakeman Water Company. Roughly 64%, I believe, voted for Bakeman. And so again, with your board's direction, we started down the path of negotiating with Bakeman Water Company. What is for sale? It is just the water system. The CSA will still exist. The only thing that is for sale is the water system, the infrastructure, and the land that the water system occupies right now. How do we sell? This is the first time that the county has ever gone down this path, And so we started from the ground up, essentially. So this is a completely new endeavor for us, and so we had to figure out, how do we actually sell a water system? So with the help of county council, county staff, and we did actually have 2 residents along in order to help us navigate this path. We came up with the document before you, which is an asset sale purchase agreement. There were extensive negotiations between the county and Bakeman. Along with the residents, we wanted to make sure that as our customers currently, that they were getting the best possible outcome through this sale. And so again, back and forth between negotiations with Bakeman and the county, we developed this document where each side has a favorable outcome, and the residents are actually receiving a very good operator. They are well equipped to manage the system, and essentially the community would be receiving what they have asked for. So the asset purchase sale agreement details out how this sale plays out. There are 3 major aspects to this sale specifically. There is a property that currently a fire station sits on that also houses some major water infrastructure that is proposed to be split into 3 individual parcels, the fire station remaining with the county until further point in time when it is not a fire station, not being used as a fire station anymore. The district also has some tax-exempt bonds that were for major water improvements made in 2008. Those bonds have to be refunded to be taxable. Right now they're tax-exempt. Because Bakeman Water Company is a for-profit private company, they have to be refunded. And so the refunding of the bonds is the major driver of the timetable as to how long this happens, and the timing of when certain things need to be in place in order to refund. The next time that we can refund bonds is in March, and so you will see that the sale is due to close in March once the bonds are refunded.
It wasn't working. There we go. Just before we move past split the fire station property until it's no longer a fire station, there is also a way in this going through the community with covenants in place that would transfer all 3 parcels, not just the ones that aren't on it. I just want to make that point clear to everybody that if the community says, yeah, you can move it over with the covenants, it makes it cleaner so that any of the right-of-way that's underneath some of the portions of the fire station can still be taken care of. Bakeman would take title to that for the benefit of the community to use as a community space. And that will go through a public process with the community as well, so they understand what's being done with that. Just wanted to highlight that as a point.
Yes, yeah. That is actually the next slide.
Oh. Well, just, yeah.
You're a mind reader.
Yeah,
So the last thing that needs to happen
These phones
is...
ring, it cost you $10. Guys, better turn them off. Got to pay for our water up here.
I think it was yours.
No, it wasn't mine. I said right here.
One of the final things that happens is Bakeman Water Company needs to obtain CPUC approval. The CPUC is the California Public Utilities Commission, and they approve, they are the oversight to all privately funded utility companies, and so they would have to approve of this purchase. So the fire station property, just like Supervisor Frazier was speaking of, it's proposed to be split into 3 parcels. We will be speaking with the community and getting their input. Right now, the county holds the deed to the fire station property in trust of the community. That is a very important piece of information in this sale. We are trying to do our best to make sure that the community has input as to what happens with that fire station once it ceases its use as a fire station. And so this document does detail out how we can give Bakeman, transfer ownership to Bakeman Water Company once the fire station ceases its use as a fire station. Refunding the bonds, kind of like I already touched on, the IRS mandates that if a for-profit company has outstanding bonds, they need to be refunded. There are 3 tests that have to be met in order to be able to refund bonds. I will let Dale speak to what those 3 tests are. And as long as those 3 tests are met, we can move forward with the refunding.
The slide actually has a good, simple layman summary of what the tests are, and in short, the tax-exempt bonds that exist today will be paid off at a future year. The refunding bonds cannot extend that payoff date. And the second test is that the current bonds generate assessments today against each of the parcels that are benefited. And when the bonds are refunded, the refunding bonds cannot generate assessments that are greater than those assessments. So those are basically the 2 tests. And a future slide that Andrea will show you in just a minute will show that the costs for getting the refunding done, that's not cheap, are being paid by Bakeman. And so so long as those things are done as part of the refunding process, then it will be, that part of the refunding will be successful.
Approval by the CUP, again, this has to happen. Bakeman Water Company has already filed essentially a letter of intent, letting them know that this is a possibility. The PUC is agreeable to this. They do believe that Bakeman is a viable solution to this and that they are well equipped to purchase and operate the system. The PUC does set the rates in this situation. Once it is a private water company, the PUC regulates. And so through this document, the rates for the community will be kept at roughly $64.44. There is an additional PUC surcharge, which we are being told is roughly 1% to 2%, which has to be added on to every rate from a private utility company. So that is really the only thing that will happen to the rate in the immediate time frame. A little more on rates. The purchase agreement does state that rates can be changed 3 years after the close or once the watering restrictions are lifted. One of the ways that the watering restrictions are to be lifted are through a list of improvements that Bakeman has agreed to make. The improvements are listed in Exhibit D of the agreement. It's a new well, some improvements to existing infrastructure, as well as meters. The meters are probably the last thing that Bakeman will do because the meters don't get them any more water. It just monitors their water, and the main concern is to be able to provide adequate water supply. So the meters would be essentially the last thing that Bakeman Water Company would put in. The sale price. Sale price is $1. Bakeman Water Company has agreed to pay off all of the general fund debt that the CSA has. Right now, that debt is roughly $300,000. Bakeman Water Company will also be paying the refunding costs. Those are roughly $100,000. And then all of the expense to go through the PUC approval, as well as all the water system improvements in Exhibit D. Water system improvements can be between $1 to $2 million. When is this all going to happen? Again, the refunding of the bonds is the timetable in all of this. That's kind of what sets the schedule. And again, those bonds can be refunded in March of 2019. If all goes as planned and the bonds are refunded and we do Bakeman receives PUC approval, then the sale can be complete as of March of 2019. The residents of CSA 19 would stay our customers through March of 2019 and become Bakeman Water Company customers as of April 1st, 2019. And again, this is all contingent upon everything through the sale agreement happening, meeting all the timetables to refund the bonds, and the PUC approval. So what happens next? The signing and approval of this sale agreement today kickstarts a series of financial events. Those financial events are being done by the county's financial advisors, Fieldman Rollup and Bond Counsel. They will start the process of refunding these bonds. Bakeman, once we have this signed agreement, Bakeman will then proceed with the approval for the PUC. And then once the approval of the PUC happens, then they will file an application with the State Water Resources Control Board to switch the operators as well. Again, all of these things have to happen in a sequential order in order for this sale to go through.
And so with respect to the refunding bonds, if the board approves the agreement today, and that triggers the events that Andrea just outlined for you, you will see this one more time. And that's because the issuance of the refunding bonds requires your approval. And so at some point, probably in January, assuming that the PUC approves the transfer in the next 60 days, probably in the month of January, you will see before you on your agenda a resolution to approve the switch of the bonds from tax exempt to taxable.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Seeing none. Any from the public? Seeing none. What's your pleasure, board?
Move to approve.
Got a second from Max. Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Oh, yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
We'll go to 6A.
Six A, Community and Economic Development Planning Division. Hearing to consider a proposal by the County of Madera to adopt a resolution to amend the Madera County General Plan pursuant to Section 65358 of the Government Code. The County of Madera is applying to adopt the Madera County Local Hazardous Mitigation Plan as part of the General Plan's safety element. A draft negative declaration has been prepared concerning the proposed project in compliance with provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act and will be considered for adoption.
This is a public hearing now, and so we're opening it up for the public, and if you're going to speak, you got to come up here and sign your life away. Is that all we have to say?
Yes, Chairman, but you might start the public hearing after staff presentation.
Oh, okay.
But you're right, it's a public hearing, just staff presentation before the public can make a comment for the record.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Matt Treber, Planning Director. With me is Becky Beavers and Jamie Bax from my office. And Jamie's got a PowerPoint presentation. I would add to this specific item that the Sheriff's Office and Sergeant Wilder, who is here today, did the majority of the heavy lifting on this document for the local hazardous mitigation plan. A lot of work went into that on the Sheriff's side. With that, Jamie's got a brief PowerPoint presentation for the board's consideration today.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jamie Bax, Planning Division. So before you, as Matt had mentioned, is the Local Hazard Mitigation Plan, which includes a general plan text amendment, number 2018-006, and a negative declaration, 2018-20. So the Local Hazard Mitigation Plan stems from the general plan health and safety section, section 6.6, which requires the county to prepare an emergency action plan checklist. And this plan, which was actually last updated in March of 2011. So Madera County and 3 other participating jurisdictions, which include City of Chowchilla, City of Madera, and the North Fork Rancheria, are included as part of the preparation of this plan. And it was developed in order for the county to participate and the participating jurisdictions to be eligible for certain federal disaster assistance. So in the plan, there are goals including minimizing risk and vulnerability to Madera County for hazards and protect lives and prevent losses to property, public, and health and safety. Increase community outreach, improve the community's capabilities to prevent and mitigate hazard-related losses, increase and maintain wildfire prevention, and to improve community resiliency to drought conditions, improve community resiliency to flooding, and to maintain FEMA eligibility for grant funding. So this item was actually presented to the Planning Commission in October, and they recommended approval by a 5-0 vote of the general plan text amendment, and the negative declaration were available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the, oh, yes, Mr. Max. Oh, you want to say that?
Looks like he wants to talk twice.
Oh, remove it. I'll remove your name. Anyone else got any comment? Open up to the public. Any public comment? Thank you, Mr. Wilder, very much for getting this. Finally, we're getting it done, and it makes us eligible for a lot more money, too, for our big tree epidemic up there. So we'll close the public hearing on this part of it and bring it back to the board.
Move to approve.
Second by Dave. Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers? Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you very much. Item 6B.
6B, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division. Hearing to consider the request for Craig and Janine Rubley for the tentative subdivision map Whiskey Creek Ranch that will be for a multi-generational senior co-housing project on 34.7 acres with 27 lots clustered on 5 acres, 10-acre, and 6.6-acre home sites, and a 36-acre agricultural lot in North Fork. The property is located on the east side of Road 225 at approximately 0.25 miles south of its intersection with Rainbow Drive, North Fork. A general plan and a rezoning will also be considered. The general plan would change the designation of agricultural exclusive designation to 5.7 acres of medium-density residential designation and 25 acres to open space to allow clustered housing and 10 acres of agricultural exclusive to rural residential. Rezoning would change the zoning from agricultural rural exclusive 40-acre district to planned development district for 34.7 acres, which includes the clustered housing and open space, and rural mountain on 10 acres. A mitigated negative declaration has been prepared in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act and will be considered for adoption.
Thank you, Rhonda. Jamie Bax with the Planning Division again. So before you, yes, is subdivision, tentative subdivision map, general plan amendment, and a rezone for the Whiskey Creek Ranch located near North Fork. So the tentative map includes a portion of the property for multi-generational senior co-housing project. And also there are existing houses on the property which they wish to remain. So there is a general plan amendment that changes the designation for 5.7 acres to medium density residential to allow for that clustered housing, a buffer area around that of open space, and the remainder to be rural residential and ag exclusive to allow for the existing homes in ag portion to remain. So the rezone aligns with that from ARE 40 to a planned development district for the clustered housing portion and the open space, and a rural mountain district for 10 acres to allow for that parcel size and consistency with the general plan. The infrastructure required for this project includes on-site water treatment and sewer system, the construction of an internal road system to include those underground utilities, and dedication of right-of-way along Road 225. Included in your packet were some studies and plans which demonstrated the sewage feasibility for that area. So this subdivision map includes clustered housing. It also includes shared common areas. The middle portions of the clustered housing include some pathways, basically to allow for the residents to be good neighbors and to share the community together and get to know each other, and allows for adequate parking for residents and guests, and maintains the existing dwelling sites, which are north of the clustered housing portion. Also, the applicant is wanting to use the agricultural lot for community gardens and agriculture to allow for the residents to share. So a mitigated negative declaration has been prepared as part of the initial study. Mitigation has been included for aesthetics to be in compliance with the North Fork Area Plan for consistency with that. Biological resources, there was a biological resource report prepared, which included mitigation measures for avoidance and pre-construction surveys, and a cultural resource survey, which also included setting aside land for protection of these resources, and also recreation for payment of Quimby Act fees. So you can see on the general plan map where the majority is currently agricultural exclusive. There is a small portion of rural residential. As I get to the tentative subdivision map, you'll be able to see how it aligns, how the project aligns with that. The zoning currently is ARE 40 and a -RM zoning. So this next slide shows the tentative subdivision map. The shaded portion on the southwest portion is where the clustered housing is going to be. On the next slide, I'll show that clustered housing portion. You can see on lots 1 and 2, 1 and 2, where the existing home sites will remain, and outlot A will be an open space area. So this shows the clustered housing portion, as you can see, where each of the properties will have access to the shared common area, and a site plan which shows what the project, the elevation schematics will look like. In the proposal, there are also included setback requirements and height requirements as required per the planned development district. So they'll have to maintain those requirements as build-out occurs. And again, this item was also heard by the Planning Commission back in September on a 3-to-1 vote with 1 recusal, recommended approval of the tentative subdivision map, general plan amendment, rezone, and the mitigated negative declaration subject to conditions. And I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Any questions from the board members? Seeing none, I'm going to open it up to the public hearing now. Anybody got to come up? And if you don't mind signing your name on the chart right there. And
I'm Craig Rubley. I'm the owner applicant for this project. And I just wanted to first say thank you to Jamie Bax and the other staff at the county. They've been quite helpful through this process. I'm not a big-time developer. This is the first time I've done something like this, and Jamie was quite patient responding to all my questions. Jamie, I don't know if you have the presentation yet. I just want to show you a couple slides. Okay, you have a copy as well. My wife and I purchased this property back in 2007, which, if you recall, shortly after that, there was a considerable downturn in the real estate prices in other areas. We've decided we'd like to try to subdivide just to recoup some of our costs there. But also, our main goals here are to provide some housing that's suited for seniors up in this area. We have a number of friends that live in the area, and we're all getting on in age, and maintaining larger parcels is more and more difficult as you age. The idea here is by clustering the houses, residents can share resources. Maybe they only have to get one weed whacker and not 27 or 26. This not only goes for maintaining the property, but also just doing simple day-to-day errands, going down to the store, going down to Fresno to get supplies, or Oakhurst. If someone has some medical need, well, there's a helpful neighbor right next door that can assist that neighbor, whether it's getting them to the hospital down in Fresno or looking in on them, bringing them a cup of soup or something. So the idea here again is the residents get to know one another and help each other out, just like a good neighbor would. The other thing that was very attractive to me about this
clustering this housing was that it was going to maintain the open space and agricultural uses of the property versus, say, trying to subdivide up into 2 or 3 acre parcels, which would have a much greater impact on the open space area. Now, this is helps. Certainly, my wife and I appreciate this aspect. It reduces the biological impact. There are cultural resources on the property. It reduces the impact of those. And it also reduces the impact on my neighbors. I know there have been a few letters of objections from some of my neighbors. One in particular, there's going to be a 500-foot buffer of vegetation area between them and the project. The wells that we'll put in are well away from my neighbor's wells as well. So yeah, you can, this parcel map, maybe go back one slide, Jamie. Yeah. This map here just illustrates what I'm talking about. The little kind of gray area there is where the housing is, and the rest is open space. So there's very little impact on that open space. Out of the 89 acres, it's just impacting about 6 acres. Yeah, I think that's all I'd like to say at this point, and certainly if you have any questions, there's a few other
Any
people.
questions from the board? I'm just going to make a statement. I know this property very well. It belonged to Schlichtings, Oscar Schlichting, and his son Bill. And there's always been a cattle ranch, and you can see the open spaces on the front here. That was, he grew pasture on that because he's got water coming from Whiskey Creek. And it was a great little cattle ranch, and this way they're doing it, I think is going to benefit this piece of property because somebody could get that and really develop it into a big subdivision. And it's just, and there's nobody can say that we don't need senior housing up in the mountains, especially probably down here too. But I get it asked almost weekly and monthly, where can we get a place to live? I love it up here, but I can't take care of my 3, 4, 5, 10 acres. So anyway, it's just, I know this property very, very well, been all over it, chasing cows, and even, that's a story you can't believe, so.
Yeah, I was going to kind of add on to that. My grandmother was just moved into senior housing down here, and her, this is where she wanted to live, and they were looking at different areas, but she knows, her grocery store, she knows where she gets her haircut, but she couldn't take care of the larger house, the larger property on her own, so she has that same independence and gets to live where she wants to live. And so I think that it just makes sense, especially up in the mountain areas. And then I know that her overall affect is just better because she has people to talk to now. She doesn't feel as isolated, where I think that this cluster housing really provides that sense of community that you can't get, even if your neighbor is, on another 5-acre lot. Right. You feel like you're not really connected, and if it takes a quarter mile to get up a driveway on a 5-acre or a 2.5-acre parcel, the neighbor's not going to just stop in every time they drop by. Versus some of these cluster housing, you go and see each other outside. So to be able to keep that rural and mountain lifestyle that everybody values so highly up there, there needs to be things like this, I think. And the only problem is, a lot of times in these, the parties get a little too loud.
Yeah. We'll put up New Year's Eve.
Yeah.
Dave.
Yeah, my colleague shows great wisdom for a young man, understanding age. Really nailed it. The older I get, the more I realize it's difficult to maintain a large parcel, and you like where you live because you chose to be there and you have your niche spots and your friends, and you don't want to abandon that. I think it's really important to have these kind of appropriate spaces for seniors to move into and maintain a lifestyle. And I know that there are other areas in the county that are looking to do this, and I think it's a great idea. And I really applaud your plan. It looks really good.
I couldn't take care of 2.5 acres, 38. You know, it doesn't.
Okay, now more public comment. Good morning, Lisa.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, supervisors. I want to reiterate what you all said about it being needed, senior housing being needed. I've lived in North Fork since 2000, and it's really sad to hear of elder people that have to move to Fresno into an apartment just because there's no higher density housing, and we're all on these large acreage, and it does start getting to be a burden. But also, I was on the group that started the planning of this co-housing, and I went to several co-housing sites through California and actually one in Oregon. And what I have to say is the residents love them. Mm-hmm. There was one in Grass Valley that's built like a Motel 6. It's like the most, was not attractive at all, but the residents loved it. They loved having a community. They loved being able to get together for meals. They loved knowing their neighbors. And the final thing I want to say is just that this is, I think, a very appropriate site for it. It's right on Road 225. It's, there's a large ability for a buffer zone. It's really not going to bother people, and there's plenty of access for public safety. It's got a lot of fire safety because of the meadows surrounding it. So I hope you will approve it. Thank you.
Morning.
Good morning. My name is Philip Locke. I also live in North Fork. Been there for close to 2 years now. When I was considering moving up to North Fork and looking over both purchasing as well as renting, there weren't very many opportunities to find suitable housing that was both attractive, affordable, and I'm really happy to see this type of housing being presented as an option for people wanting to move to the area. So thanks for considering this.
Thank you, Bill. Mr. Dan.
Hi, I'm Dan Rosenberg, and you're probably wondering why this 30-year-old guy is asking about co-housing, but I agree with what you said.
You're not over than 30. Don't get me wrong.
I've lived in North Fork 20 years. I bought a place. It's 10 acres.
Moved there when you were 10.
Moved there when you were
Yeah,
10.
I was 10.
1 acre for each year.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm 53 now, and it's getting like 10 acres to take care of, 18 dead trees taken down last year, and still bucking that up, and it's a lot. So I think, and I love the foothills. I love the way we live up there with all the open space and the nature, but clustering the housing just is such a logical thing to do. I moved my dad from Florida to Fresno recently. He's 83, and he lives in a really nice senior community there, but there was nothing up in the foothills, and I want to stay there for the rest of my days. So I support the project.
Thank you, Dan. Any other? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. What's your pleasure, board?
I move to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes,
Vote
thank you.
passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
5-0.
Thank you guys for bringing such a nice thing to our community.
You bet.
So, 6C.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Ferguson has arrived as well.
You can wait.
6C, Community and Economic Development Department, Planning Division. Hearing to consider the request by Madera Creek for a tentative parcel map and a general plan. The tentative parcel map would divide 75.38 acres into 50 parcels. The general plan will be considered to allow the tentative parcel map and change the agricultural exclusive designation to light industrial designation. The property is located on the northwest corner of Road 24 and Avenue 18.5. The zone is Industrial Light District. A mitigated negative declaration has been prepared in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act and will be considered for adoption.
Okay, what you got?
Thank you, Rhonda. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Jamie Baxkin, Planning Division. So before you is a tentative parcel map, number 4230, and a general plan amendment, 2017-001. So the tentative parcel map is for 49 industrial parcels. The MAP Act allows for commercial and industrial parcel maps to go beyond the 4 parcels as opposed to a residential, which is 75.38 acres and 1 outlot. The application also includes a general plan amendment from ag exclusive to light industrial. The current zone district is already light industrial. So those two will be consistent and allow for the reduced parcel sizes. So the infrastructure required for this project is also a public water system and on-site sewer treatment system. Also construction of an internal road system to include underground utilities. Generally, parcel map conditions are not required until occupancy permits are requested through the building permit process, but in this case, for the internal road system, the fire marshal has requested that that be done up front, which the applicant has agreed to. Also, improvements to the adjacent freeway intersections at both ends of Avenue 18.5 overcrossing as per the traffic impact study that's included as part of your packet. Also, impacts to groundwater quantity will remain the same for the build out of the map as with the current industrial zoning. So either or, it's allowed to be built out to 90% total building area. And per the groundwater analysis, it'll be much less of an impact to water quantity as opposed to the historical use of the almond orchard. So along with that, we have prepared a mitigated negative declaration, which include mitigation for aesthetics, for the aesthetics of the buildings, biological resources, cultural resources, hydrology and water quality, and transportation and traffic. 2 studies were prepared, a water quality, a water supply assessment, and a traffic impact study. The general plan, as you can see, is ag exclusive currently. You do have some heavy industrial just to the south, and also some light industrial to the west and to the north. The zoning is already currently light industrial with surrounding parcels also in the same designation. So this is the tentative parcel map, 49 industrial parcels, which basically is consistent with some development that's already occurred just west of here along Avenue 18.5. And with that, staff is recommending approval, and the Planning Commission at the August meeting recommended on a 5-0 vote in favor to recommend approval of the tentative parcel map, general plan amendment, and mitigated negative declaration subject to conditions. And I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Supervisor Rogers.
Yes, this subdivision request is in my district, and that area is already industrial, light industrial, which is where light industrial and industrial belongs, outside of residential areas. I wish everybody understood that. Anyway, my question would be, what standard are we going to use to construct the roads to industrial standard? Are they going to remain private, or will they be adopted by the county?
I can speak to that, Supervisor Rogers. So these will be built to commercial industrial standards through the Public Works. They will not be, unless Public Works Department is here, they will not be accepted into the public right-of-way system, so they won't be a public maintained facility there.
I think that's wise. We don't need any more dedicated roads.
We have plenty,
less
plenty of our
inventory.
dedicated roads, yes. Plenty of lane miles to maintain.
Right. I just think the project's a good project, is in a good location. Thank you.
Okay, any other Fraser, I'm sorry. Right.
Yeah, I agree, being right across from heavy industrial next to other light industrial makes a lot of sense. My question this is kind of based in economic development. We're going to split this up. Are they looking to do spec buildings? We have our vacancy rate is very, very low. Are we just splitting this up, or is it going to be sold to another developer or build to suits? I would obviously love to see some spec buildings go up to bring in as many businesses as possible.
Absolutely, Supervisor. We do have a significant need for industrial buildings and construction of that. The applicant is here on that. We have not had the discussions, and I can't speak to whether they intend to come out of the ground with spec buildings or if this is a marketing aspect. But clearly, this type of project with this number of units is a need that is, the county has and is underserved right now by our existing development in industrial. So it does fill a very big need throughout the 99 corridor there.
Our vacancy rate right now is under 0.5%.
Wow. Okay, no more questions. I'm going to open up the public hearing now. So if you want to speak, come up, sign your John Henry up there. And
Good morning. My name is Melissa White. It's my family's ranch, the Madera Creek LLC. We've had it for many, many, many years, got the almonds on it. And we're not anticipating ever selling it as far as the property itself. The zoning seems to go in conjunction with when our neighbors were doing that and we realized that was happening. And then also the water issues associated with putting in the new pump for those almond trees. And this was really what we thought, okay, this is what we really should be doing. And so that's why I'm before you and filed the application in May of 2017. Jeez.
Yeah.
It feels like 1997. Wow.
a long time, man.
It took you 20 years to process it?
I'll be 50 next year, so I'm just going to blame that all on them. So, but anyways, that's what we don't know exactly what we're going to be doing, but we know that those almond trees are really sucking up the water, so it's going to be a good thing to start
Given
developing.
Sigma, the timing couldn't be better, I think.
Yeah, we're hoping, so.
well needed. So, any questions? Thank you very much. Any other public comment? I'm going to close the public hearing.
Move to approve.
Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor
Frazier.
Frazier? And Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
On Wheeler.
I lose track of who I'm calling on, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
Thank you. Item 6D.
6D, Board of Directors, Special Districts, Maintenance District 40A, Sunset Ridge, Public Works Department, Administration Division. Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution establishing increased water service rates and levying the increased rates for the Maintenance District 40A, Sunset Ridge.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati, Deputy Director.
And Ahmad Alkat, Public Works Director. We are here to adopt a resolution for a rate increase for Maintenance District 40A, Sunset Ridge. Before we see if there are any protest results, do you have anything you'd like to say, Andrea?
So MD 40 has been going through a rate study just like all of our districts have been per your direction. They do have $76,000 worth of back debt. They are a very small district. There are 27 active users. And we did have our third-party consultant, Provost and Pritchard, go out and do a capital needs assessment as well. They've got roughly $2.2 million worth of capital needs per the Provost and Pritchard study. What we did for the district is we did hold a teleconference. We were trying to do something a little different, and we sent everybody the rate study and a call-in number. We held a teleconference on September 6th. We sent out the Prop 218 notices on September 6th. And as of this point in time, there are 16 written protests. The district needed 15 to defeat the rate increase. So at this point in time, with the written protests, the rate has been defeated.
I don't know, technically, Madam Clerk, that's basically the end of the...
County Council.
I'm concerned, though, if I may.
County Council, if you...
Oh,
I'm sorry.
staff answered the question. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood the rates were subject to a majority protest, and but you covered it, so I took off my request to speak. But I would still suggest, Director Al-Khayat, that the public hearing be open and closed just because it has been scheduled. And
Okay. Brett?
Yeah, it looks like this one's going to be defeated. We've had other ones, and I think just 2 items before with one that was defeated and the residents looked at other options. I think that we should be bringing something back to this board to look at what happens when these are defeated. We can't use the general fund to fund these to special districts. So when these get defeated, we need to know how do we move forward through other means, whether it be privatization or getting somebody else to do it when we can't cover the costs through the general fund. So I think it's something important that we're going to have to bring back at a later date.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yes, Supervisor Frazier, thank you for that. That's exactly what staff would like to do, is we would like to bring, first of all, maybe get together with the team and bring a workshop, just give you just solutions, because definitely this is, maintenance districts need to be self-sufficient. If the Proposition 218 gets defeated, we don't really have the financial means to maintain and operate these systems.
Right.
So, and besides, we are the owners and operators, and we are to provide drinking water for the residents of all maintenance districts. So it's kind of we're between a rock and a hard place.
Right.
So, you know, I would like to come up with some solutions. There are solutions when there is notices of compliance by the state for health reasons. But when there isn't, again, it becomes harder. So I'd like to explore this further with council and administration and come back with you with some potential solutions.
Any more questions?
Yeah, I wanted to.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave.
That's okay. Yeah, I just want to make it clear that it's not just that we don't want to operate the system, it's that we cannot use public funds for a private system. And this is a private system, and we cannot use tax dollars to supplement it, and which is happening to the tune of $3,000 per resident. So that's just unacceptable in any circumstance. We cannot go forward with that kind of thing.
And it is understandable, Supervisor, that, you know, the rates haven't been raised in decades, some districts.
Right.
But we cannot.
Things don't stay the same, though.
We have, you know, it's a new board, it's a new team. It's you know, we have a completely different perspective on how to manage and be responsible of managing and operating these districts. We're coming to the people who are explaining what the problems are and what we can.
When was the last time the rate was raised in that district?
1995 was the last time they had a rate increase.
So that's
23 years ago.
23 years ago. If you went by the Consumer Price Index, just in that regard, an average of 2% per year, you're 50% out of compliance already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just understandable. Even the electric rate doesn't stay in the realm of operating in that realm. So you're not even paying your electric bill, basically.
Yes, everything has continued to go up. PG&E increases every single year, and rates from 1995 just have not held.
Right.
Yeah. You said 95 or 85?
1995.
Okay. I wrote it down though. Okay, thank you, Dave. Any other questions from the board? Okay, I'm going to open the public hearing. You should come up and speak. You got to put your name and stuff, sign the finger, and then give your name and address, please. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good morning, Mr. Wheeler. Good morning, members of the board. I'm here today to discuss with you, hopefully, our
You
side.
gotta put your name and address too on that, on the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. William Hampton, 32320, Sunset Ridge Road West, Coarse Gold, California, 93614. I reside in the MD40A Water District. So, we're here today protesting for a number of reasons. We can go back to, it's actually April 14th, 2009, we were here for the same reason. We protested then, and at that time, it was decided that the Resource Management Agency was to work with us to come to a consensus as to what our district's needs were, what those expenses were going to be, and to perhaps explain to us what some of the expenses that were being spent on. I'm going to read what I prepared, otherwise I'm going to start ad-libbing and this could go on forever.
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
Anyway, on April 14, 2009, the Board of Supervisors accepted our majority protested and directed staff of the Resource Management Agency to work with the property owners of MD40 to help us understand what the district's expenses were that required a rate increase at that time. There was a discussion at that time. I can't remember what happened at this point. I had a new baby girl in 2009. I was promoted and transferred at work, and then subsequently had some serious health issues. I'm sorry, I don't recall how that broke down.
Yeah, no, that's
but
fine.
it did.
I understand, buddy.
In 2009, a lot of our neighbors were also foreclosed on, short sold, very tumultuous time in our neighborhood, trying to get everybody together to discuss what our needs were and what we needed to work for and do to improve our water district and maybe pay for some of the expenses that they're talking about here. It never came to fruition. So it broke down on both sides, our sides and the county side. I think the RMA was kind of rolled into Public Works. Right. Ray Beach retired. I don't see Greg Farley or Steve Norman around anymore.
All retired.
Dale Rosen, I guess nobody told him to come down today.
No one usually has to tell him, he just
he just comes.
Yeah.
I think he's retired from that too.
Is he? Good.
Yeah.
Good. So anyway, we were looking to form a consensus on how to proceed. We're not interested in the Sumner Hill option, at least at this point. We believe it should be kept with the county. The county allowed it in the first place. The county knows it. The county should operate it. My concerns personally is trying to understand what happened after 2015. We had good years and bad years. I have financial records going back to 2007, but in 2015, we went from $13,000 to $17,000 a year to $30,000 a year. That's when the county started lending money to our district at the end of a year that it was paid for. So in 2016, you guys approved $15,000 to pay for expenses in the year of 2015. We don't know what those expenses were for. We all live there. We all see what goes on there. We're all familiar with the sites in our district. We've got 3 well sites and 2 towers. It's not a terribly complex system. So anyway, Andrea's been great about producing records for labor charges, material charges, kind of helped me understand water testing and the need for it. What we don't understand is we can't look at those records and see what was done. So, we just get a bill for $30,000 and we don't know why. So, there's a lot of hours charged to our district. For the 2017-18 district, there were 264.5 regular hours billed to us and 50 overtime hours. So we got billed for 315 hours of labor. And we don't know what for. There's no accountability. We're being handed a bill and being asked to pay for it, and we don't know what the bill's for. So is it possible that I could plug in a memory stick somewhere? We could look at some pictures of our district just so you guys can kind of see.
I think Jay's coming down right now.
What's that?
I think our IT
Jay's
is coming
coming
down
right
now.
This is MD40 photos, top one. Okay. Does the mouse work?
Jay, you gotta go up on the screen?
Yeah, Ron will put it up.
Okay.
So this is our system. It's not complicated. At the top of the hill, we have 2 water tanks, which are, how do you make a slideshow out of this? There we go. There's 2 water towers at the top of the hill. You know, there's not, last time I was up there was in 2009, and clearly nothing's been done up there. There's no weed abatement. There's nothing. There's nothing that goes on up there that we can see. The grass hasn't even been cut this year. So these are pipes leading into the tank. To my recollection, there's nothing's been done at the storage tanks. That's the valve on the other tank. The rodents have clearly carried away all of the insulation that was attached to the plumbing there. This is a shack that is up there with the water tower, and it appears to be defunct. We don't know what it's for, but it's clearly there's no door, hasn't been painted, the roof's falling off of it, it's in pretty poor shape. That's a water meter. Supposedly we're reading meters. There's another one, so you know these are things that I would expect, being $70,000 in debt, might be a little better maintained. That's some sort of control box at our number 1 well site. You know, there's screen protectors, a piece of duct tape, and cardboard. Again, this is the number 1 well site. The insulation, the plumbing insulation and the wrap around it has been gone for years, hasn't been maintained, hasn't been touched. Same well site. Again, I believe that cord is there to keep the pipes from freezing, and the insulation around it is just gone. That's an overview of the site. This is one well site. So this is our well site number 1. Again, you know, 315 hours to maintain this stuff, and this is what we've got. Same well site, just nothing going on there. This is well site number 2. That's a communications box. I believe there's a phone cable going to it and a power cable going to it. Bottom of the box is broken out. Inside the box, obviously, it's full of acorns, cobwebs. Again, we're $70,000 in debt, and this is the condition of our system. These are right in front of you when you approach these well sites. Again, the roof on that is, I guess it is what it is, but you know, you can see the fiberglass back into the shingles, and it's starting to fall apart. Same well site, open conduit, extension cords, cables, wires, stuff hanging out everywhere. So that's just an overview of the cables, the open conduits, that one gray box right there with a sticker on it. That's the only new piece of equipment that can be seen anywhere in our district. I don't know when it was installed or what it does. That's the drop line to that particular site. Again, I'm not sure whose responsibility that is, but it's between the pole and the power board for that well site. So, you know, that limb comes down, we're without a well. Same well site number 2. You know, there's not a lot to these things to maintain. So, you know.
Bill, is that conduit coupler, is it broke off there, or is the box broke?
It is the talking about that one up
Yeah,
there?
right there, yes.
The bottom of the box is broken out.
Oh, okay.
You can see here there is an extension cord that's been hardwired into the box and just haphazardly laying in the ground over here waiting for someone to trip on, hit with a weed whacker, get electrocuted, who knows. So not terribly professional for the amount of money that we're charged. That's it, just laying in the ground. This is our final well site. This is the newest site. That's the power board and the control box. Those are the actual well sites. Oops. And as you can see along the ground there, most of the insulation and covering of the insulation has just been carried away and is gone. Another shot of the piping, the insulation. And a water leak that's been there for a really long time. Just a few weeks ago, this hose bib right here, a county truck came out on a Monday, removed that hose bib and put it back in, and I don't know why. Just for something to do, I'm not sure. So.
That's not where the leak is?
No, it's still just as wet right there. So that's our district. We have 3 well sites and storage towers, and this is the condition things are in that they've charged us $20,000 to $30,000 a year for. And that's why we have questions, reservations, and concerns over how much money they're claiming they've spent and what's actually been done. Because we can't tangibly see what's been done, and our system is in, at best shape, poor condition. Anyway, to move on from there, the Public Works Department has spent way beyond our means under the guise of maintenance and repair. Now they want to add to the debt they created by spending more per annum than the district took in. The assessment study that they mentioned of us requiring $2 million worth of updates and repairs, the associates that they used came out and gave us an estimate of $1 million to drill a well and attach it to our existing system. That seems like a lot to me. They've estimated $30,000 to replace each of our well pumps, and I recommend doing it. 2 of them in the next 1 to 3 years, but they didn't do any draw tests on the motors. They didn't look at pump output. They didn't test anything. They're just saying in the next 1 to 3 years, you need to replace this stuff regardless of anything. Just you need to do it. So it's really frustrating. So the County Board of Supervisors, you guys acting as our directors, authorized three cash flow loans of $15,000, $11,000, and $30,000. One of the reasons given for such a large loan last June, which was at the end of the year, was that in 2016, they hadn't applied a quarter of our maintenance to the previous year. It was only $6,400, yet they want a $30,000 loan. And the problem I have, and it started in 2015, is anytime we give them money, it gets spent, period. So if I give them $50,000 a year, it's going to get spent. It just does. So that's all I have to say on that. But anyway, the initial cash flow loan was for buildings and improvements, and it just got dumped into the budget at the end of the year to cover expenses. You know, we have and know how much our income is every year, and they've spent twice that, and it's been going on for more than a decade, and nobody said anything to us. So it's hard to stand here and swallow a $100 a month increase in our water rates when our system's in this condition. They're claiming the expenses that they have. I don't see it. You know, looking at Proposition 218, which is what has us here today, lending our district money like the county has, and then adding it to an inflated engineer's report, and then asking us to pay it back. It just, that doesn't go with the spirit of Proposition 218. My understanding of 218 is you guys need to look at our system, recognize that it needs improvements, present that to us, and then we approve it before we put us $70,000 in debt over 10 years without saying anything to us. So again, that's the reason for my frustration. You know, I've been looking at the books. You guys are our board of directors. Have you guys looked at our books? Have you guys read the engineering report?
No.
You really should. You're our board of directors. It needs to be looked at, and I'm happy to look at it with any of you.
Yeah.
So you guys are our board of directors. We rely on you to say, hey,
Right.
we've been running in the red for 5 years. We need to talk about what's going on here. It's been so much longer than that. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, you know, it equates in my mind to you bringing your truck into my shop. I'm doing services for you. I'm charging you for an oil change after 5 years. I say, oh, hey, you know, I did all this maintenance to your truck over the last 5 years, and you need to pay me. Plus, I'm going to put you on a maintenance plan that's going to cover all this in the future at an inflated rate. And by the way, I'm not going to tell you what I did to your truck for the last 5 years. You just need to pay me now. So,
Thank you, Bill.
I think we're willing to work with the county. I think we're willing to work on an increase because, as you can see, we need to fix some stuff. It's not in great shape,
Yeah.
but
It needs to be done.
the accountability on these guys for showing us what was done for the money we owe isn't there. And, you know, I think the burden of proof in 218 relies on them to show us what it needs and what was done. And I mean, I can go there and show you what it needs. I can show you where it's leaking. I can show you broken conduit and boxes. And, you know, for what we owe and what we've spent, I would expect we'd be in great shape, and we're not. So, you know, I'd be happy to work with you to figure out what we do next. So our only means is the no vote and the petition to say we won't have it. So that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, first thing I want to apologize to him and those residents because they've been asking me for 2 months to meet with them. And I forgot half the time and then I got busy and we tried to set one up for last night, at last minute, and I did just 4 days ago or so. And so I apologize for that, Bill, and the rest of you citizens. Brett?
Yeah, just to speak to some of those things. So what happened in 2015, when you look at the books over the years, California law says that when we pass our special district budgets, we can't encumber more than what is being brought in, regardless of how much it costs to run a system. And it was costing more to run the system, but we can only show a zero balance, right? So if you're bringing in $20,000, we can only show $20,000 being expended, even if it costs $40,000 to run the system.
Well, our deficits go back to 2008.
So those were on spreadsheets, right? Sitting on the side that had to be paid when money would come in. We had earlier on the agenda the MD-95. They only bring in enough just to pay their PG&E bill sometimes, but nothing else to do any operations and maintenance on top of that. And I think that that's kind of would be in the situation that you were in, that in 2015, we looked at how we could budget that using the state's laws about the zero budgeting, and we started being able to show how we book debt. And we would have to come here to the Board of Supervisors on behalf of the special districts to ask for a general fund loan so that we could book that debt against it. Because before that, we had this unknown liability as sitting as the Board of Supervisors of backfilling all of these operations and maintenance budgets of special districts that weren't paying what they needed to.
125 of them.
Yeah. So, and then in 2009, there was, you were asked to do a 218 at that point, and I would imagine at that point it showed that the operations and maintenance was not being covered. and asked to pay higher at that point, and
Actually, it was a totally different situation at that point.
Was it-
We had reserves. They had come out, the Board of Supervisors.
I
had-
pulled it all, so I have a copy of all of it.
Terrific.
Okay, so it was-
So they had asked the resource management agencies to get all these districts up to snuff, and they came out over a 2-year period and installed water meters and did a bunch of work.
So there was
that,
some capital
consumed a
improvement,
lot
yeah.
of our district funds, and at that point, they showed us 2 or 3 years of expense and income reports and said, your district's in a financial crisis, we need to raise your rate. And at that point, I started asking for historical data beyond 2 years, found some accounting mistakes, found some money that they didn't think we had. And again, I'm sorry, I don't know why that drifted off, but it did.
So, and then, but to use that point, when they came to you and said there was a financial crisis and you weren't paying what needed to be, using your same analogy of coming in, bringing in the truck to the shop and, 5 years ago, and that would be like me bringing in the truck and you telling me this is what it costs, and me saying, well, I want to pay what it cost 4 years ago, and then paid that for that 5 years. And then at the end, I would have a bill that was more than what it was, because you told me what it cost to.
That's the difference. I told you. In this case, this has been going on again
Well,
since we walked
So I
away
guess I
in
need to see that
2009.
2009 one, what it bumped it up to, but and then the $1 million high for a well, I mean, there was $2 million for the Dublin well in the Ranchos. It was larger for a potable municipal well. $1 million, that's pretty low, actually.
reasonable.
Our district has 4 or 5 additional well sites that have been drilled, have well casings installed in them, and need to basically have a pump installed, utilities brought in, and plumbing connected. So I think there's things that they perhaps weren't aware of or forgot, or their new staff. I don't know.
It could be, but a lot of changes just in the last couple of years, the state changed now that even the well casings now got to be 100 feet from any public water. And almost 90% of all our wells up there have never been that deep. They just had to go down to hard rock no matter what. Now they got to go through hard rock on, they got to be 100 feet, period.
So there's 4 or 5 wells
That's a lot of
That
problems.
were drilled
Just
and
no
never
pump?
had pumps installed. They were drilled,
Did they ever
tested,
hit
and
water?
capped. Yes, all of them.
That sounds awesome. I wish I had that problem in all of my districts to be able
It's
to
a nice
have.
backup, but
Yeah, it'd be nice. Any other, Brett?
Yeah.
No,
Okay, Dave?
Yeah, what is the current PG&E rate of that district?
it's about $5,000 a year.
It's $5,000 a year.
Yeah, roughly $5,000 for PG&E.
And what's the rate that that is charged to the residents since 1995? What is their rate?
It's been inclining. It's been increasing. I don't have it in front of me to go back in
I'm
time.
talking about the rate.
Their water rate right now?
Yeah, their water rate.
$38.33 since 1995.
You're barely paying your PG&E. There's your problem. There's no
Our
operation.
district income's about $14,000 a year. So I'm not debating that a rate increase isn't something we're wanting to discuss. We're wanting to also understand what some of the expenses are we're being charged for.
So I think that's the bottom line. They just want to know what that.
And I don't blame you for that.
Yeah, I don't either.
What even the 14,000 was spent for, so.
Well, about $7,400 a year to maintain and operate the system, over and above the PG&E.
You okay now, Dave?
Yeah, thank
Okay. Rob?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I recommend that staff sits down with the folks from this district and goes over the expenses and demonstrates where the money's been spent. And I think that's the first step, and create that break down that wall and create the avenue and build up credibility. And then work on the next steps in terms of reasonable rates that will cover expenses. I think that's a good path to go.
Yeah, I agree, but I think that, and I can see right now, I'm not going to like those phone survey deals that are talking to them on a conference call. I hate that, and I've called in a couple times on some of them, and I don't like them. So I think that we got to put our heads back together and start doing the meetings at their area, in their communities. Or like he said, I think you told me they did the community center one year, right?
I believe we met at Course Gold School.
Yeah,
But we may have a resident that's willing to host. It's when you get
We've done that a
27
lot.
of us together.
We haven't lately
Some house is too small.
Yeah,
so.
since the RMA dissolved, we've changed it this way. But I used to go to all these, and we had them in a lot of homes. Even in a garage, they backed their cars out and put chairs in there, all the
Sure.
neighbors did. And we had them that way. And I think we got to do that, and we got to get some numbers out here for them. And I'm disappointed the way those pictures looked on some of those things. I'd take a lot better care in that in mine, I tell you. Anyway, I think.
Well, we didn't present a bunch of pictures because I want them to come out and spend a bunch more money on our district. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah. No, we're going to have to bring those up to snuff. I mean, we got to get those insulated right, and we got to.
Well, they were at one point, but they haven't been maintained.
We're talking now, 1 second, Bill, okay?
I'm sorry.
We got to start, I mean, I don't want no conduits broke loose from no box like that hanging. I don't want no stupid extension cords hanging out there like that. I can't believe that. I put an extension cord out to my four-wheeler the other day, so I have a battery charger on it. And hell, I stepped over that thing, tripped on that thing, a couple times. And the public don't know that, and they see that, and they happen to jerk that loose and stuff. So we got some stuff we got to do here, and we got to do some explanation, and I want to set up meetings and with them. And if it's best in the evenings, if that's work better. I've done a lot of those. I've done them in the evenings. I've even done it on weekends. So, and our staff's just got to step up late and do this. So, I don't know where we're going to go here. I guess, do we have to have a vote on anything on this?
Well, Chairman, the public hearing is still open.
Yeah, I know. I'm just talking.
But no, you wouldn't be able to adopt the resolution as proposed because a majority protest has been issued. So unless written protests are withdrawn during the open public hearing that would change that tally, then no, the resolution wouldn't be able to be adopted.
Okay, so any other people want to talk on the public hearing part of it? Okay. Sorry, Bill, I'm not trying to cut you off. We got to move forward. We understand. We got to keep moving.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I know it's past your lunchtime.
Yeah.
What the heck? My name's Roberta Watt. I'm here to represent my husband and myself. His name is Daniel Sichel. We live at 32231 Sunset Ridge Road West. We actually don't live there anymore. This is our retirement property. We have renters in there now. I think they would probably have to move if I had to charge them another $100 a month for rent. I feel if this increase, I'm talking about if this increase went through, which we still don't know if it's going to or not, it would devalue the property. That's one of the highest water rates in the Coarse Gold area. We're just totally opposed to it. My understanding is the budget shows that the county is in debt over $76,000 for this district. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why we weren't informed. We received no letters throughout the years that said, hey, we need some money. We need to increase the rates. So increasing it 260% in one felt swoop, it would not work for us or our renters or our future retirement at all. I feel it's a mismanagement of funds somehow, some way. I don't know what it is, because like I said, we never got any notices about it. I'm not opposed to increasing the rates, because of course, everything goes up year after year after year, but not 260%. That's just way out of whack. And it's not even a one-time deal. It would continue to increase year after year after year. So paying I don't know the exact amount, 130 some odd dollars a month for water is just outrageous as far as I'm concerned. So I've lived in Madera County since 1986. I've owned 5 different properties. I was a real estate agent. I'm retired. My husband works for community hospitals in Fresno. We're tax-paying citizens. I just don't understand what happened here. I don't even understand how much this study cost. Nobody has that information when you call. When I called and asked who's in charge of this district, who can I talk to about this, I was told that nobody's in charge of the district right now. The position has not been filled. So there's just so many iffy things going on, and then getting slammed with this 260% increase doesn't go over very well. So that's my little spiel.
Thank you, Roberta.
Thanks.
I'm Clyde Farnsworth, also a resident in MD40A, and I did not get a written protest into you by the deadline yesterday. So I'm here today to protest formally and be recorded as being opposed to the rate increase.
Thank you, Mr. Farnsworth. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chairman. My name is Alan Gines, and I've already signed in over here. I sent you a letter. I sent you a letter dated September 11th, and I provided a copy to Ms. Saldete and the Chief of the Clerk of the Board protesting this increase, and so I wanted to state briefly why I'm protesting the increase. I purchased the property at 32770 Sunset Ridge Road East in 2012, and since that time, and I do have the property rented out. I have not heard from the board, and the first indication that I had that there was an issue with our water rate was the notice for the discussion that was held over the phone. I did participate in that conference call, and I found it very useful. I found it just shocking that the county had loaned me $77,000 without letting me know that I was building up a debt. I'm very careful controlling the rent in the house that I rent out. I'm very sensitive to the needs of my renters who are raising a family there. The concept of increasing, and they pay the water rates, and they pay them monthly. The concept of increasing that rate from $38 a month, as it is currently, to $170 a month by fiscal year 22-23 is just stunning to me. I follow the law as required to raise their rates. I know there's percentages that you're allowed to raise without advance notice. I just found this whole process to be shocking. So I support raising our rates. I certainly see the need. I want to publicly comment that Mr. Hampton's presentation was just excellent. You can see that we have maintenance issues that need to be taken care of. I'm very appreciative of the County of Madera handling our water district for us. I support the district's work. I appreciate you doing it. I want to maintain that relationship. I think this process was a bit of a sledgehammer. Let's have those discussions. Let's look at our needs. Let's see what's reasonable. Let's not go with the proposed 5-year payback. In my letter, I proposed a 15-year payback of those debts. Let's work together to come to a reasonable conclusion on what those rates would be. I think that's all I need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Anybody else? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you very much, and we will direct staff to move forward with putting up a packet and get some meetings going here as soon as possible. Not next year, not tomorrow, I mean quickly.
Yes. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank all the residents that show up, and I know they do realized that we need to discuss this further. We just went with what will bring, pay off the debt within 5 years. That was the direction. But we will definitely go and meet with you at a set time and place very soon. And we can also, anybody who wants to come and look at the books, look at the maintenance records and all these concerns that Mr. William had, of course, they're more than welcome to do so. Or we can just figure out a way we can bring everything together and sit down and discuss your current maintenance and operations needs and your future capital needs, which is very important. And on behalf of the department, I do apologize for the state of the system, partially the state of the system, which needs funding. And we've been years since we had rate increase, but I'm sure all these photos will always stay with us. So I appreciate you coming in and showing us how the current system is. And again, lack of funding is a main contributor of, unfortunately, many of these things where we are forced to be reactive rather than proactive. So with that, we'll be reaching out to the community and we'll keep you updated.
Okay, Todd, did you have anything to say on that? I didn't see you walked in. Come on up, you walked up. Here's your auditor that makes up these bills for us as they get the billing from the staff. Good afternoon.
Hi, Todd Miller, Auditor Controller. First of all, on back bills and stuff, simply ask. They exist, we'll get them for you. You're entitled to them, all right? No problem. If there's problems with the bills, whatever. Part of what has come up since you elected me is we've gotten better in the financial department. He explained some of that. And when I came in, I said special districts was the bane of your existence. And the accounting, quite honestly, prior to me coming here, was not good. It wasn't done. It wasn't really done. As they said, they could only budget. They'd have a zero-based budget. They would figure out how much money they had coming in. That's how much they budgeted. Under the law, technically, I can't pay a bill for you if you don't have the money. It's against the Constitution of the state of California. So if the money isn't there, now there's ways to get the money there, and what they did was they said, we got to pay these people's bills. We will have the general fund loan them the money. We don't want them to not have water, okay? And I've pushed that because I have said to Public Works, don't keep this off-book expense thing and hoping to recoup it at some point in the future. Put it in because we have to give the people good information because you can't make good decisions if the financial records aren't complete. And they can't make good decisions if the financial records aren't complete. So when I got here, one of the things that I did is I made sure that all special districts, including yours, were audited by an outside auditor. That information is available. In fact, it's on my website. You can go look at it. We are finishing the next year now. It's in process. So we will have 2 years of audited financial statements. And when I'm done, you'll be able to, with my future plans, you'll be able to at any point drill down and see every bill from that point forward. I can't go back and do it historically in your district. So we want you to have all the information. So number one, we can get you the past information. Just ask and it's done, and that's actually can be done in a public records request or whatever, but we'll get it for you. So you can see it, you can self-audit it, you can look at it, I'll help you, they'll help you. Number two is, one of the problems is, and I'm enforcing this, if there's no money, unless they're willing to loan you more money, I can't pay the bill. And I won't. It's not fair, and you wouldn't like it if I took your money and use it to pay my water bill. You wouldn't find that very appropriate. And I can assure you that in their capacity, they need to look out for all the districts. So unless they have a way to get the money and they can loan it to you, that's legal that they do that, but obviously that needs to come to an end at some point. So they have to be willing to do that, just like you got to have the cash in the bank to pay the bill. Where's it going to come from?
I understand they can't loan us money from the general.
Need to be on the.
Oh, they can loan you money from the general fund, and they have done that.
Right.
Okay, to make sure that you don't have a no water issue. Okay, so now with the financials brought up current, with them having Ahmad here, who is really paying attention to this and actually doing a real good job, they have better information. So now this is where these 218s are coming, where we haven't increased rates for 20 years, and all of a sudden we're going, man, these people are way upside down. One of the issues that you have, and this is, we haven't figured out how to address this, and I know they're trying hard. You only have 27 people to maintain an entire system, 27 residents, is that correct? Yes. It's only 27 to maintain the system. Well, it probably wouldn't take much more if there was 50 people on that system, but there isn't. Right. Or 100 people. So you have this reverse economy of scale. There's fewer people to pay what takes. There's a certain amount of maintenance required, whether there's one person on the well, or 20 people on the well, or 100 people on the well. And so that's where, on a percentage basis, with 27 people on the well, yeah, your rates are going to be higher than somebody who has 200 people on the system, just by economy of scale. Okay.
A good example is like North Fork. It's got 400, I think, things, and they pay $250-something a month. So, but I just want the public to know that we've got approximately 142 special districts in Madera County. 120 of them are in our District 5. And so it's crazy trying to keep up with all of them, I guarantee you. It's my worst headache. We had LAFCO a couple weeks ago, a state conference, and there's over half our states do not have a special, counties do not have a special district in them because they don't want this problem what we're doing right now.
We have either the first or second most. So it's become
the whole state.
We did 127 audits of special districts. So yes, it's, and I'll be the first to admit, and I'm sure Ahmad would, and even the supervisors, that historically, the management has not been good.
That's what my question is. Why are we having to make up for the historic?
Because it's your system.
It's your system. It's not ours.
It's not our system.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're going to, we can't have this discussion like that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I closed the public hearing. I just asked him to come up.
So I just wanted to be upfront, and we're not here to punish you or anything else.
Right.
And I'm here, you hired me, you elected me to give you good information. And so when you want information, we're here to give it. That's part of our duty to you.
Right.
And Ahmad's not out to hide anything, and these gentlemen are not either. And so if you want data, we'll get you data. You want historical data, we'll do the best we can.
Okay. Brett, real quick.
Yeah, just looking at, to reduce it to the kind of very base, after you pay your $5,000 PG&E bill, you have about $7,419 left over a year, roughly $600 to $625 a month. So if you only had one person that was spending about 16% of their time just on yours, once a month going out to do all the testing, do everything, that's not buying a single tool, that's not buying the hose bib. He probably had to reinstall the same old hose bib, right? Because there wouldn't have been money to buy a brand new hose bib after that $600 per month. That's just on your base. So there's no way that the system can be run and updated and kept to a higher level at $600 a month. Now I know that there's also about the $20,000 per year, so it roughly comes to another $1,800 to $2,000 a month when you include that 76,000 over the last 3 years. So I think you'll see that when you look at the audited books, there's no fat in there whatsoever. There's not,
Nothing like that.
because it's literally not enough to even create that and be able
do the testing alone.
to do the testing alone costs money where we have to send it out and get it tested. These are all costs that are associated with it that have to be paid, that there's just not enough money in there to do any of that. I have, again, MD 95 that was on here earlier, they are 27 residents, same exact amount on acre lots, so they obviously use more water, but from the very beginning, they were at a flat rate of 83. And so they were already paying, $45 more per month than you were at the flat rate, and then they're going to have to go up because they use more water than you do. But there's those basic underlying operations and maintenance that just go with any single system regardless of the size. And so at 3833, I know that this is going to be a big jump, but Caltra's so lucky to have had this 3833 for this long. I mean, I don't know anybody anywhere in the valley that's paying 3833 for unlimited water. I mean, there's meters, but you're not charged a metered rate. So you're getting essentially all the water you can handle for 3833. If reading anything in the news, water is the new gold, and it's going to cost everybody a lot more to have it. It is no longer a free commodity that we just have. And so, I hope that we can get together and understand each other and find some way to get here, however it takes to get here. But just know that we're going to have to get to that place at some point. So I do thank you for coming out here, but it is a serious situation that needs to be addressed, and I appreciate that you're all engaged to address it for the rest of your community.
Yeah, I want to, that's a great explanation, and I have a district of 20 people called Valita. Their monthly bill is 140, and so they're paying significantly more. Since I've been supervisor, they've been paying that. That's 8 years. So,
That's one of the lower ones.
and that's one of the lower ones. But the point is that you got economy of scale, and we've got situations where the state requires us to do testing. They require a lot of things that are not that you don't see. You're not gonna drive out there and see that. Yeah, I don't like the way that looks either. It bothers me to see your system in that condition. That bothers me because I don't keep my stuff in that kind of shape. But, you own the system like I own my system, and I'm one person on my system, and I just paid $22,000 to drill a new well. That's a private well. Doesn't have to meet the state standards. But if you parse that out over years, that's a lot of money. I mean, I paid a lot of money to get my water in, and it's just the way it is. And I'm glad you're here today so that we can learn together on what's happening to your circumstances and make a better situation for you.
Okay, we're going to go to lunch. We've got to be back here at 1:30, and we'll go from there. Thank you very much for coming down. going again. We're going to do item number 6E.
Board of Directors, Special Districts Maintenance District Number 5, Mountain Ranches, Public Works Department Administration Division. Hearing to consider adoption of a resolution establishing increased water service rate and levying the increased rate within Maintenance District Number 5, Mountain Ranches.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Andrea Saldati, Deputy Director with Madera County Public Works.
And Ahmad Al-Kayat, Public Works Director. Take it.
So for MD5, again, we finished their rate study per your direction for every district to have their rate study done. Currently, this district has no debt. We did do a capital improvement plan with our third-party consultant, Provost and Pritchard. The improvements for what PMP found are not added into this rate. This is a very small district as well, and the improvements are upwards to about $2 million. If we were to move forward with those would be paid through a loan or bond. So right now, the rate that you see before you is just for operation and maintenance. Right now, their meters are read quarterly and they are billed quarterly off of a tiered rate. We will be moving to reading their meters monthly, and they will be charged a volumetric rate. Whatever they use, they will pay for. It's a flat rate plus a volumetric rate. We did a teleconference with this district as well, and then we sent out the Prop 218 notices. And at this point in time, I have not received, nor has the clerk received, any written protests. We would need 15 written protests in order to defeat the rate.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
What a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Know that.
I'm going to open a public hearing, and you guys can come up and give us your spiel.
Good afternoon. Afternoon lunch. So, yeah, we weren't aware about the protests. We're fairly new to politics or anything like that. But
Yeah, say your name and address, please.
My name is Don Elder, and this is Wendy Elder, and we live on 28398 Road 400 in the Mountain Ranches Estates. I guess we're one of the only few that showed up. So, and we understand we did do the teleconference call. We were a little shocked today listening about this other water district for 23 years not getting rate increases, and we felt real, I mean, just like you guys, taxpayers, whoa, what are we doing? So it sounds like we're covering for each other, which we understand it to a degree. But I don't understand how the county, even charging a normal, say, 2%, like you said, inflation rate, should, and how they got away with it. That just doesn't, I can't comprehend that, and I'm sorry,
We paid it.
Yeah.
Our rates went up.
But-
Our rates
and-
went up, and we've been paying
Yeah.
since 2009. We were at that meeting too.
In '09, yeah, we did complain because our rates went from $4.95 to $6.25 in 1 year. And we just bought the house, so you can imagine that, whoa, and I'm on a fixed income, I'm on disability. And she retired to take care of me. So, so we've had some of
You
our
said
runners.
she takes care of you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I just want to get that straight.
Yeah, I finally had to come home to mama, so. But, and when we had our teleconference call over this, it seemed like one of the rate increases, and which is great. We don't owe anybody, we have, and we're on a gravity-fed tanks too, so it's kind of interesting. We have a low-cost area, and I can look at the wells and stuff right down from my house and stuff, so, and I watch it too, and I'm like them. I don't see anybody come out, but I'm not here to complain a whole lot. I do want to watch the maintenance and some of the costs, and I'm going to bring that up also. But apparently one of the biggest things that came to our attention was there's a $55,000 charge and $26,000 charge that in a proposal that they're saying for a new tank and probably a pump later on. And my question back then was, what's the condition of the tank on a scale like 1 to 10? I mean, so that way we have a way of rate of just how, and I understand sometimes they're only designed maybe to last 50 years, but I've seen things last 100 years, but I've seen things last 20 years. I mean, so, we got to weigh the differences. So I'd like the county to definitely look at that again. If we don't need a tank, take it out of our proposed way increases. if it looks like there is a condition because of rust and stuff like that, there's nothing wrong with starting maybe a little, setting aside some funds for the future to build up, because we'd rather be that way, we do like a preventative maintenance, and that's what, looking at some of their proposals, looks like they're doing a preventative maintenance.
That's what we try to do from now on, all of them. We've been trying to do that.
It looks like you've been doing that, but since '09, when you raised in the MB5 our rates, it's been going up every year, which I expect, which is normal.
For some.
I don't understand why another water district has been getting away with that for
And
all
not
these
metered,
years.
they're not metered. How'd that
Yeah.
happen?
Our frustration with that as well.
Yeah, well, one of the
But then
things.
because we don't have the squeaky wheel that got the 16 signatures, because we didn't realize that, we're gonna have to pay these rates, and they're not. And so they got denied.
They will sooner or later.
Yeah, I know, that's the scary thing, that's why, they're.
We don't wanna mess with them because,
Well, their
you know.
property values are gonna decrease as a result of not paying.
Right. Well, the biggest thing I'll say, from my point of view, from what I've listened today, you gotta make us responsible. You're saying we're the owners, make us the owners. Make us act like owners. Let us see a profit and loss statement. We wanna see what's coming in and out. We need to know what's going on. So, sorry about that.
Okay.
That would get us involved, and I would go, and there's nothing wrong to send out a yearly audit report, so all of us know what's going on, what's upcoming, what's happening. And I appreciate that. There is one here on equipment, you have proposed from the year 18, fiscal year 18 and the 19th on up, $10,000 a month. That's an additional fee or fund that I haven't seen where it's justified. And because there's no charges in 2015, 16, 17, so, yeah.
Regarding the audited statements, until last year, we never, this board, working with the auditor, approved to go forward and actually audit the special districts. That hadn't been done ever prior to last year. So now we're running it like you would, running your own, we take ownership of all of these now. We're trying to get the correct numbers to be able to make the right decisions and make these hard decisions. You see how many people don't like us now.
Oh, yeah, and I understand their frustration, I understand your frustration also. But when you come up with something like this, you should also maybe come up with a plan to help basically amortize it. Let's spread this out a little bit. Because you're hitting them right now at shock fest, and you're putting up a wall. You guys just put up a wall, and let's bring the wall down. Ask them, how can we make your lives better? We're already making it rough, but you're the owner of this company. This is your company, not ours. How can, you're a management company. That's all you guys do. You're a management company, how do we operate it? Sorry about that. And a lot of it, they talk about preventative maintenance. Well, here, for us and anybody else, if you can go out into the future and look for bonds or some way to help offset for these people. And you can come back to us and, for this tank. Hey, we've got a bond issue here. We're gonna include you guys.
We don't go out for bonds so much, but we do go out for grants and loans all the time.
That's what we're gonna wanna go for, is the
We've done
grant.
that
Because these are
for
cracker
many
box
districts.
houses. These are not fancy. These are little cracker box houses.
Yeah,
They're
poor,
very
all
poor
poor.
people that live here.
They all work.
They're all working their
We've had some of
tail
those
bones
grants
off.
in for over 5 years to the DWR.
Pardon?
We've had some of these grants in for over 5 years from DWR, and we still haven't got some of them approved.
But that's an
I mean,
effort.
we try all the time, but
And I appreciate it. And we would appreciate it. I know that other group, 48, would really appreciate you guys coming back to them. Hey, we don't have a solution, but we do have try a resolution to work together to alleviate.
The fact that you're out of debt gives us the opportunity to go for these grants.
Yeah. They
They're
can't be in
being
debt
in
either
debt,
to
they
get a
can't
grant.
get them.
Okay.
They cannot get grants because they're in debt.
Oh, cool. And that's what we brought up on the teleconference, that look into grants or something like that. If we do need a water tank, no one's saying we don't, but, it's something I would, look into and keep on.
Is it right now, can you get another 5 years out of it? But, yeah, I
That's
think-
our thing, yeah. And some of this pricing, it looks like some of them, they figured, they kind of padded it in there to cover cost, and that we understand and stuff. But hopefully we get a good rating on the tank. Do you know what the rating is on the tank? I mean, the condition.
Sir, I can't see the engineer. I mean, I don't have the exact details, but you're more than welcome to come see us upstairs. And any information, any document, any records you need, it's always available. Just ask.
Okay, yeah.
And we also, just like the auditor said, some budgetary information is posted online. But regardless, you call Public Works with some concern, either through that or through public records request, we will always provide you with the information.
Well, also, I know you'll do it too if it comes up, because I think when I asked her, she said it was recommended. And there's a difference between recommended and required.
Right.
And just keep that in mind, you know. Believe me, I've been in automotive business for years.
We got to put in replacement costs. We even do that with our fire trucks, everything. We
Right,
gotta,
capital
you know,
replacement.
putting in replacement costs because they're all going to wear out no matter what it is, so.
Yeah.
Entropy is at play.
The one particular person that has the well on his, his name's Mr. Fleming, and it's actually very well maintained, I think. I mean, on the property, ours doesn't look like those pictures you saw. I don't think that.
It's not in debt.
Well, that's because you've kept up with your rates, and so because of that, we're able to do more than just literally the bare minimum of what the state requires, which is tests. We can, I mean, we were talking about on that last one, there's times where they need some of those wires, and it's gonna cost $100, and they, by law, can't pay it if the $100 isn't in the account, or $200. And they're not gonna come to the board for a loan for $100. So it gets, that deferred maintenance defers further. And so your district is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, then we can really provide proper service. And that's why you don't see 16 people here upset with us, because they're getting what they pay for, and they're paying more than what $38 is, which I would love to have a $38 a month.
But I noticed that they got, because they have 16 letters, and they're still complaining, that
They got waived.
they got waived.
Oh, they didn't get
And
waived.
that's
No,
like,
they
we're
didn't
not
get waived,
waived.
No, we'll continue
The debt
to have
just continues to pile up, and
yeah.
there's a point at which the
It's
rubber's
just,
gonna
their
meet the
debt's
road.
just going deeper, that's all. It ain't, well, next time they come from
But
us,
their
it'll be more
monthly
than
fees aren't going up so
76,000.
they can sell, they can adhere to that. Right now, our rates are gonna go up again. We've been paying more, but what are we getting out of it?
Water?
Water,
Yeah.
but are our rates gonna be yes, we are getting water, and we did end up paying the rate increase, but we're gonna keep paying. So like, we're good citizens, we're paying our dues, but in the meantime, they have no meters, and I don't wanna, I mean, more power to them. I wish I lived in their neighborhood.
No, you don't.
They don't have any meters, so we have to pay for every
$3,000 a
gallon.
house in debt for water, 3,000 per household.
And that system's not gonna stay, you have much more water certainty where you can go to bed not worried that there's gonna be some catastrophic damage. Anytime if one of their wells goes offline, they go immediately onto restrictions, and you get what you pay for.
Yeah, we gotta move on.
Yeah.
Is there
Yeah,
a
okay.
cost of living in there, in this?
Now, but your proposal, you had in there a $10,000 increase every year on equipment, and you haven't had it any prior since 2017. You didn't even, or any years earlier. And that's on table 2 on your on the water rate study.
What is the 10,000 for? What is that?
So the 10,000 is budgeted in equipment less than $5,000. It is essentially there if anything were needing to be replaced, a pump, a motor, whatever it is. It's budgeted, that doesn't mean it's going to be spent. If it's not spent, it adds to their reserves. If they have enough reserves come the end of the year, We do not have to go to the next rate increase in the following year. The rates being adopted right now are a maximum. If by the end of year 18, 19, they're still good on reserves, we do not have to take them to that next rate
There's some you
increase.
don't do that with, so.
So you're saying,
Yes.
so you're saying the proposed rate increase going from $58 a month to 79 might not be implemented?
The initial rate increase would, and then in prior years, as we look through and make sure that financially they are sound and that they have enough reserves, we do not have to go to the next rate increase. The rates right now being approved are a maximum.
Right.
Okay.
But the initial rate, $21 a month, that's pretty drastic. If you think about that, that's.
Is that what it is, $21 a month?
And we pay over every gallon we
No, but
use.
I don't hear a justification for raising it that high, that much.
If we've been paying our rates accordingly.
Because you're proposing this tank, according to you, $55,000, correct? On your building and improvement?
Sir, we could go over the details with you in the office. I mean, right after this meeting, if you would
Well,
like.
So far, you haven't justified why you're raising it from 58 a month
Yeah,
to 79.
The justification is in the study, which we will go with you over it. And also with your neighbors if there are more interested. Like I said, all the information we can give you.
Well,
And
I'm
I'll be happy to
protesting.
walk upstairs
Okay.
with you.
I'm asking the board, have you heard any justification why this rate should be increased this much? Especially for my district.
What we go by is what staff gives us to go by. And like I said earlier, we had over 140 districts, and when they done the audit says that this is what we have right now. And then when they go, if they get themselves and a company, if they need, to come up with what your system needs. Your system, I don't know how old it is, but it's probably old, like all of them are up here.
50 years old at least.
That's what I mean. So
Yeah.
they all.
Bob-
No, I'm not saying that, I'm
Yeah,
not saying
the
that.
justification is based on the increase it has in there that you're coming to the end of the expected life of the tank.
Pump.
The pump is, it's a
Piping.
mechanical, at some point it's gonna go out. And so you have to have in reserve the amount to be able to pay for that. It's not gonna, when this goes up, we still need to build up that amount of money in case,
you're not borrowing.
so that you're not borrowing
That's
that
right.
money.
And I
So,
agree, and I talked about small rating.
so I think probably when is the,
It's not cheap.
when is
No,
the replacement in terms of the tank? Is that in year
Do you have it?
2, 3?
The $55,000 for the tank, it's also for fencing of a well site, which the state is requiring us to do. So it's an accumulation of both expenses, and we intend to do that in 18, 19. They have enough money
So-
for that to do it right now in 18,
So
19.
then this would be rebuilding up their reserves to
Exactly,
keep it to a place
exactly.
where.
The cost of the tank and the fencing essentially drains all of their cash balance, and
That's
so,
state law now. We had to do that in Wani there,
Yes.
Wani
Right,
Park.
and
They
this
had
is
to
one
put
of
it.
those instances, I was talking to her back in August about getting a grant. For, it's like you said.
We
we've
wanna
got
go for
our
the
funds,
grant.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you again, we've had grants in it
Every
for
year.
5 years, and we ain't got approved yet.
Well,
We
I-
do that, we do it all continually, but we do the one that's more in dire needs
Right.
than what you guys are.
Yeah, we don't have a dire need yet, as far as.
If you're not, I don't know what your income level is in your subdivision, but they look at that. And
It's
if it's
this
not
big.
where-
Also,
very
Mr.
poor.
Chairman,
They look at all that, so the
Okay.
criteria is crazy. And to get that money, I mean, we can't wait for you to get a grant
Yeah.
if that stuff's got to be done next year.
Well, no, I agree with that.
That's cool.
But what I'm saying but you're proposing $55,000, you can't even tell me it's required. That's a good
He
question.
just told you we're fencing and replacing the tank, and that you gotta replace the capital cost of
Yeah,
that.
but does it need, the tank need to be replaced? That was my question. It is.
Yeah, it's.
They all do
at the
sooner
end
or
of the-
later,
yeah.
every single
yeah,
one.
I mean, eventually, everything will be
Well,
prepared.
Eventually it could be 5 years.
Sure,
from now.
but this way, even, I mean, you spoke about the grant. The prerequisite to any grant, even to just think about it, is passing the maintenance and operations rate increase. The state will know, or the grant agency will know that we are responsible enough, we can sustain our system, then they can entertain the idea of a grant. Now, the change in law where we have to protect the well site or the tank site with fencing, that's
How much will that fencing cost? Because it's not that big of a tank.
Again, I can really talk to you about the details.
We got to bring this to a halt. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, I
these
can-
kind of questions you can ask outside there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please. And all I need right now to know is there any other public comment? If not, I'm closing the public.
the rate?
No, the resolution stays as
So-
as it is.
So anyway, I'm closing the public comment and the public hearing, and you guys voted, you're protesting.
Yes.
Okay, so put that down as a protest. Okay, what's our numbers?
Just one protest.
One protest?
Yes.
How many lots is there?
They needed 15
Huh?
to defeat, they needed 15 to defeat the rate increase.
I
And
mean,
there
how
is
many
one.
total lots is there?
27 improved properties.
Well, there's 27 on this one too?
27, yes.
Oh my
Why is
God.
27 our special number?
We have 327.
And we feel like we're paying them the 27 rates. That's what we don't want you to do with our money. See, you're taking our money.
We can't commingle them.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
thank you very much, Sean. Anyway, close the public hearing. What's your pleasure?
Move to
Approve the resolution.
approve the resolution.
Second rate increase? Okay, we got a second. Oh, Rob, you second?
Doesn't matter.
Okay, Rob second.
I said it, but didn't.
Would-
Okay.
Do you want to discuss it further?
Yes. Can't.
Okay, roll call?
Call for the vote. Supervisor Frazier?
Yes.
Supervisor Poitras?
Yes.
Supervisor Rogers?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez? Supervisor Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 5-0.
You know, I screwed up earlier. Could you, County Council, report out of our closed session? Was there any reportable actions?
Yes, Chairman, thank you for the opportunity. There is one reportable action from closed session, and there's no longer any closed session required. On a motion by Supervisor Frazier and a second by Supervisor Rodriguez, everyone, all 5 board members were in favor of entering into a memorandum of understanding between the County of Madera, excuse me.
Darryl?
Yeah, that was my gum. The Tesoro Viejo Public Financing Authority, the Association Against Faulty Financing, and the Sierra Foothill Public Utility District. There were no other reportable actions from closed session.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to do this 7B right now.
Yeah.
7.
Oh, go ahead.
7B, Board of Supervisors, District 2, presentation by Rural County Representatives of California of the Rural County Representatives of California National Homebuyers Fund, Inc., One Laptop Program.
I'd like to introduce Craig Ferguson from RCRC. He is the one of the directors of our homebuyers, National Homebuyers Fund, and several other parts of the organization. But does a fantastic job. I consider Craig an absolute expert in finance, and he does an amazing job of continuing.
I need some money. Can you help me?
He's a smart man, and
Until I heard all this.
Can you help us finance some of our special
RCRC
districts?
is one of the greatest organizations I've ever been a part of, and we continue to reach out from our success as an organization to the communities that we represent, and this is one of those programs. Go ahead, Greg. Glad to have you here today.
Thank you and good afternoon. Again, my name's Craig Ferguson. I'm Vice President of RCRC and also NHF, which is an affiliate of RCRC. Real quick, and Supervisor Rogers knows this, and I'm sure most of you do, as few of you have been to the annual conference. Rural County Representatives of California, founded back in 1972, has got now 36 member counties. So Sonoma just joined a month ago. Pretty much focuses on the smaller counties of California, from a federal level to a state level, and just promoting understanding among policymakers about unique challenges that face California's small population counties. Back in 2002, Rural County Representatives of California formed National Homebuyers Fund, and over the years, National Homebuyers Fund has helped over 38,000 families get into homes. The main focus is providing the down payment assistance, and it's typically low to moderate first-time home buyers. This is just a quick presentation on the Give Back programs. Several years ago, RCRC, National Home Buyers Fund, and another affiliate entity that also Supervisor Rogers sits on the board for is Golden State Finance Authority. And just real quick on Golden State Finance Authority, they've helped over 78,000 families in California get into homes with down payment assistance. And together, National Home Buyers Fund and Golden State Finance Authority have financed around $18 billion in energy retrofit, multifamily, and single-family financing. National Home Buyers Fund funded a veterans unit, helping homeless veterans find stability for a time period till they get them and their families back on their feet. There was a human trafficking education for 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th grade curriculum high school or schools to teach the kids about the high risk of trafficking, which is amazing how high it is in rural counties. And we've just learned this, over the years, where you always think it's just the urban areas, but it's really the rural areas have been much more prevalent. On Golden State Finance Authority, we've given probably $2.5 million to families who've been affected by these fires that you see. And this last year, the fires were so devastating that the funds we had available weren't even that helpful. But, prior to that, they were quite helpful. We were given about $2,500 to each family to kind of help them with rent and sustainability. But this past year, we took a step back. The amount we budgeted didn't really even come close to trying to help what we needed to help. So the three entities together have given nearly $4 million in financial support to California's rural counties and residents. I want to play a quick clip just from our president. Some of you may have seen this at the, how do I push start? Just the, well, it says touch the screen.
RCRC and two of its affiliate entities, Golden State Finance Authority and National Home Buyers Fund, have created 3 give-back programs to help support our rural communities that we serve. One of them is a human trafficking education and prevention awareness program being implemented in all the public schools of 35 rural counties in California in the 5th, 7th, 9th, and 11th grades with approved curriculum.
I can tell you as a prosecutor in these cases that the impact on the victims is devastating. They continue to suffer long after the perpetrators are sentenced to prison. What Protect does is it gives these kids a chance at the front end so that they're never trafficked to begin with.
Another is the rehabilitation or renovation of an apartment complex to house homeless veterans and their families so that they get not just a roof over their head, but an ability to be on a path to really get things back on the right track for them and their families.
Currently, we have 4 families that moved in as our first residents, and now we're finishing 2 additional buildings that will have 8 more families. As Volunteers of America, I just sincerely want to say thank you to our community partners. It's a long list, but without them, and especially RCRC, this would not have been possible.
The third is a disaster assistance program to help Calaveras and Lake counties from the fires in 2015, where so many families lost their homes and so many structures were destroyed. We've provided $1.5 million so they could get back on their feet. Because after those fires occurred, a number of them left with nothing more than the clothes on their back.
We had no time. The fire was moving 85 feet in 1 minute. Anything that fire touched, it burnt it.
Well, RCRC helped out so much. Thank God that, they were there to help.
The mission, the purpose of the organization is to enhance and protect the quality of life in rural California. And so all 3 of these efforts that we are participating in do that to different degrees. But I love that we have an organization of board members that would support doing this. I feel proud to be a part of it, and I'm very thankful for other employees and board members that have completely joined into the effort.
Cool. And this was filmed before the iFoster laptop initiative came about. So in December 2015, RCRC and NHF joined forces to contribute $400,000 to support iFoster One laptop program in 35 RCRC member counties. iFoster often comes to this, but they had a conflict, so I'm kind of winging this iFoster part. They're a nonprofit serving the child welfare community, over 45 members across all 50 states, and so far delivered over 12,000 laptops to foster youth nationwide. If you look at this quick graph to show the digital deficit for California foster youth, if you look at the first one, just U.S. teens in general, then low-income teens, and then compare that to urban California foster youth, and then compare to rural California foster youth. And our initiative is to supply laptops to rural California youth. And obviously there's other entities out there, high entities. Microsoft's even involved with this, so we're trying to do our small part for the rural counties. Laptop ownership impacts on California youth. First of all, improved academic performance, stronger social network, increased life satisfaction. The steps that they take, they first identify eligible foster youth through agency partners and conduct baseline assessments. Then they provide new laptops with productivity software that functions offline, conduct monthly follow-ups over the next 12 months, and then evaluate laptops' impact on academic performance, strength of social network, life satisfaction, and depression and reduction of system costs. The iFoster laptop designed by Microsoft and Intel, semi-rugged. Actually, I've felt them, they're very rugged. You can drop these babies and there's very little that's going to happen to them. Ultra slim design. And then fully loaded with donated Microsoft Windows, Office Suite, and Adobe Reader, 11-hour battery life, and internet-ready webcam. And then there's the Tay Assistant is actually kind of a cloud-based storage system. Foster kids get moved from house to house. This is a way for them to keep their documentation at hand, and from birth certificates to social securities to just documentation in general. They can always find this available, even if they lose the laptop, a laptop's stolen. They've got their own personal, secure, cloud-based setup. Madera County, 40 laptops delivered to foster youth. Do you recall when that was? I think it was. But it was recent, so 40 laptops. There were 40 eligible.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Danny. I was at a loss.
Anyway, that was just a quick synopsis. Madera County is part of it. You guys represent RCRC, so I just wanted to kind of give you a quick presentation on what we as rural counties are doing and giving back, and with your support and our support. So
that's great. It's amazing.
Great, Craig.
Yeah.
Danny, do you pick out the foster kids that are eligible for these laptops?
Yes, social workers identify the youth that are in need of the laptops. Madera County has partnered with iFoster since 2013, and I'll add some data to support what was presented there, because we helped kind of develop some of the variables that will be tracked by iFoster maybe about 2014. USC, along with LA County, had begun doing some work, and they looked at the work that we were doing along with Fresno County because of the work and the outcomes being produced. For example, between 2013 and 14, we provided 60 laptops to foster youth. Of those youth, their outcomes for 2014 were, for grades, there was a 16.2% increase in their grades. The greatest increase came for one youth by 43.8%. That youth went from a 1.5 GPA to a 2.67 GPA. Behaviors, an overall decrease in behaviors for foster youth was by 45.2% in disciplinary action. One youth, from 2013 to 14, that youth had 12 incidents of behavior and reduced down to one incident for that one youth. So there's an overall 45%, but one youth was having severe incidents, reduced dramatically. Attendance. We know attendance is tied to academic improvement and support, and also ensuring that a youth can be successful. There was an overall decrease in unexcused and excused absences. In 2013-14, the largest decrease was for one youth. That youth in 2013-14 had 17 excused absences, 14 unexcused. In 2014-15, that youth had 0 excused, 0 unexcused absences.
Wow.
The other piece is the social emotional aspect of it. We know we are on social media and doing things of that nature. Foster youth do not have that access, as you noticed from the slide there. 90%, they said on average, of normal youth have access to social media and things of that nature. Foster youth have little to none, because when they come in, they bounce from home to home, or the home that they enter may have one computer, but no other form to connect with. By providing the false youth with that ability, not only do you provide them the academic, but also the social, and the social aspect is more important because each of us have gained socially because of social media. Without social media, your name doesn't get out there and you don't gain. But also, our social capital, those that we know, help connect us to different things and connect us to the various things that have happened to us, both positive and or negative. More so positive, because if you gain social capital, those people that we know, we gain more. So by false youth gaining that, now they give opportunities to connect back with family that they may not have contact with, maybe good. Not all their families are bad, but they just can't take them because various things that are going on. But they can't connect back with them to work with them and do these things and also be the positive role model. Foster parents have also noticed that there's an improvement in the false youth when they have the laptops because they have that ability to complete homework assignments. They're not embarrassed not to go to school. They're also able to connect with family and stay connected. The other piece is, how do you apply for a job? Brent, you have?
Yeah, we send them to the website to print anything off or do anything now.
Exactly. You have no computer, you can't connect to that to print it off. You can't go and apply for a job. So when you have an older false youth, that youth needs to have access to a computer. By providing that false youth with a computer to access and apply for a job, now they're no longer dependent on public assistance or looking at the penal system. They're now becoming productive young adults. They also apply for college. How? Online, exactly. You have no computer, you can't apply for college. You can't apply for financial aid. So by having that tool for those youth, you provide them the opportunity to be successful. And then they no longer continue to perpetuate that cycle of abuse or neglect of their own children, but be productive citizens of Madera County and of California. Thank you.
Thank you. Man, that's fantastic.
Any other questions from the board members? Thank you guys for that presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Craig.
Keep up the good work.
Take so much for granted. Thank you for.
Any pending legislation? Any pending legislation, anybody? Seeing none. Supervisor's report. Rob? Max? TW?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing, Chairman.
Nothing?
No, sir.
Nothing? Okay. We're going to adjourn the meeting and go to
You
the
got one of them, don't you?
Cerro Viejo Public Finance Authority County of Madera hearing.
You have one of these.
Brett, you're still on this one?
Oh, yeah, I gotta stick around, don't I?
Dave, you're on the next one.
Okay.
Max, you're on this one.
Bye, Rob. Bye, RP.
Yeah.
TW. Oh, TW.
How you doing, Mr. Jim? You woke up alive, Jim. It's a doggone good day. Yep. Okay, gonna call this meeting to order. County Council, you wanna read in closed session what we got going?
Yes, Chairman, there's one item for closed session. It's conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. There's some significant exposure to litigation in one case, and you'll be meeting under Government Code 54956.9, subsection D2. There are no other items.
Any from the staff? Before we go in, any questions from the public? Seeing none, let's go have closed session. See what they got to tell us.
Someone just randomly come and give you a legal brief.
Items from closed session.
Yes, Director Wheeler and members of the board, there's one reportable action from closed session on a motion by Director Frazier and a second by Director Rodriguez on a 4-0 vote with Director Mahill being absent. The Board of Directors voted to approve a memorandum of understanding between the County of Madera, the Cerro Viejo Public Financing Authority, the Association Against Faulty Financing, and the Sierra Foothill Public Utility District. There are no other reportable actions from closed session.
Okay, any additions to the agenda, Madam Clerk? No additions. Public comment. You got 15 minutes, anything that's not on the agenda. You got 3 minutes to talk. Anybody in the public got anything to say? When's the last time you've been? Okay. Seeing no comment, approval of the minutes, item number 4. Got a second? Second, Jim. Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Call for the vote. Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Talbert?
Yes.
Director Rodriguez?
No.
Director Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, 1 absent.
Item number 5.
5, Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division, discussion and consideration of a resolution of the Cesaro Viejo Public Financing Authority to adopt the certified results of the election to issue bonds for the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District 2018-1.
Move to approve.
Any discussion? Any public comment? Seeing none. Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Talbert? Director Rodriguez? Director Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, 1 absent.
We're adjourning that meeting. We're going to now open it up for the Riverstone Public Finance Authority, County of Madera. Item number 1, closed session. Can you read into the record on the closed session item?
Chairman, unless there's a need to go into closed session and update this board, I would recommend you can pull that item from closed session.
And just leave it out in the open?
Nope, there's no, the agreement that we've been discussing has not been, Riverstone's Public Financing Authority is not a part of it. However, they were open to the same threat of litigation, which is why we've been keeping that finance authority informed. However, I think the members and the directors are informed unless you'd like to.
No? Any
And the
questions
threat-
from the board members? And we won't go to closed session. Skipped. Okay, item number 2, additions to the agenda. Madam Clerk.
No additions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Item number 3, is public comment from here. Any public comment? You got 3 minutes to speak. Speak your name and all that good stuff. Anything that's not on the board. Any public comment? Man, old Matt is anxious, isn't he? I got a big hook. I'm going to hook him here. Item number 4, approval of the minutes from the public
to
meeting from
approve.
July 24th.
Move to approve.
Got a motion? Dave? Jim?
Second.
Got a second? Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Rogers?
Yes.
Director Talbert? Director Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, 1 absent.
Item number 5.
Community and Economic Development Department Planning Division, discussion and consideration of a resolution of the Riverstone Public Financing Authority to adopt the certified results of the election to issue bonds for the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District, number 2018-3.
Move to approve.
Any public comment?
I just have one mention, Chairman, which is, and I should have also done it on the other one, both Tesoro Viejo EIFD and Riverstone, the ballots were received, and they are 5-0 vote for approval from the property ownership in both of these districts.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, any other public comment? Roll call, please.
Call for the vote. Director Frazier?
Yes.
Director Rogers? Yes. Director Talbert? Director Wheeler?
Yes.
Vote passes 4-0, 1 absent.
We're adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. Thank you, everybody, for the great thing. We're going to do the agenda meeting in 10 minutes. Thank you, guys. Great job. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Hard work.
One more thing you can put on the resume is winding 41 and put in the funds to do that.
Good seeing you.
Thank you.